You're listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 178, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. And coming to you from the Swedish suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John Dollar Store Matola.
And coming to you from a place just south of Witches Valley, but north of you two blokes. My name is Rye, and I'm honored to be joining you guys here on this glorious show.
All right, Rye, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome
I
back.
don't know chronologically in time when the last time you were. I know you were on for our 7-star episode, but I just don't remember when that was.
Yeah, it was a while back. I think you were still in the double digits, were you?
Really?
Maybe in the late. Yeah, I think it was like late 80s or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Well, wait a minute. I could take
It's
it's
been a while though. It's been overdue for sure.
I could take
John's gonna look it up. While he looks it up, you're gonna have to tell us.
Look it up.
May 2021. So it was over a year.
Over a year ago. Wow.
Mm-hmm. That was our 7-star
So
episode featuring me.
Featuring you. Yes. What's up with the dollar store, man? What's going on?
So I got this great story I couldn't wait to tell. I knew this was going to be a story when it happened. So I was in the dollar store yesterday. Now everybody should know they have a version of this, right? Everywhere. It's like the cheapo type of place. We have the job lot and then we have the dollar store. Of course, now everything is inflation. Everything's like $1.25, but they can't call it the $1.25 store. At least that's what somebody told me. So anyways, I was in there yesterday and this place is like Lord of the Flies. There's like no merchandising, no uniforms, no cleanliness. Like the employees are just like, it's anarchy, right? So my favorite lady, I was having a kick out of this lady because there was like this lady and she was like, she had that really raspy smoker's voice and she was like stocking a shelf and she was wearing a knee brace and she was like really loud and abrasive. And she's just like, hey, what's going on? What's going on over there? So anyways, like somebody asked her for paper towels and she's like, nah, we don't have them. I don't know what's going on with paper towels, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So anyways, she's in this aisle, like an aisle. I'm walking down the next aisle. So I just hear her like ask nobody in particular, hey, anybody know what time it is? So I'm just like,
it sounds like the beginning of a David Lee Roth video or something.
I'll tell you what time it is. So, but I mean, it's like I could tell the way she was asking it was she was just putting it out into the universe. Like, she just needed somebody.
Didn't care who it wasn't like a coworker she was looking for.
No, just anybody.
Like one person in those stores. So she was just anybody who was listening.
Does anybody that's listening within like, the radius of my voice know what time it is? And I'm thinking like with watches and cell phones and shit, like she can't just look. And so I just went like this. I just yelled over the thing. I said, it's 2:30. Right, wondering what's going to happen. So there's a pause and she goes, 2:30. Shit. That was it. I don't know what was happening at 2:30, but she was not happy that she missed it. Or
what was she late for? Yeah.
I have no idea, but she was still running around the store 5 minutes later, but something was happening at 2:30 and she forgot. So
John, you're like her version of Alexa then. She just yells stuff out and you answer.
The dollar store Alexa is John.
John, the dollar store Alexa Matola.
John, what time is it?
But it's just her reaction was great. She's just like 2:30. Shit.
I'd like to imagine it was like the board meeting for the dollar store and she's on the board.
She
had to change her knee brace. The knee brace really completed the imagery.
Yes, it's a small detail. Like, it doesn't matter, but it totally matters.
Just makes it. Yeah.
Yeah, you just wearing a knee brace, and it was like you just it was anarchy. And there was one aisle too that was like, I don't know what it was like. When you go into a dollar store type place, it's like, it's just it all looks run down, right? So there's not a ton of people in there, so it's just like empty aisle, and then there was like one aisle that like consistently had like 27 people in it. I'm like, what the hell is going on in this aisle? Because there's like 2 or 3 employees stocking things, but there were also like several people like picking through stuff. And I must have been in there for like 10-15 minutes, and the whole time that one aisle was just jammed with people. I don't know what was happening.
It's always apocalyptic at those places.
Yeah.
Up here we got Dollarama, and we got
yes.
we have I think there's one that's like the Looney Plus. So like, there's your Canadiana.
A loony plus.
But nothing beats the UK with Poundland.
Poundland.
Going to Poundland.
I'm going to Pound Town, baby.
Well, I'm looking here on the site.
Poundland.com. That's a different site name.
Yeah. Oops.
Nate, get off Pornhub.
Oh my goodness. No, there's 5 international equivalents. There's Euroshop in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then this one says for England, there's something called Everything £5. So that's substantially more than $1. That's like what, $7.50?
Well, we have Five Below over here too, because everything is $5 or less.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
So this leads me to believe everything's £5 or more. I don't know. But then there's Daiso in Japan, Hema in the Netherlands, and Flying Tiger in Denmark.
Wow.
Flying Tiger. Yeah, that made it to Ireland as well.
Really? They had
That's a good
Flying
one.
Tiger.
It's kind of like an upscale dollar store, that one, though. It's kind of got like a little Scandinavian design.
I'm seeing pictures of these stores. They do not look like the dollar store.
No, they look like a cutesy kind of, like we would buy little toys for my daughter there and stuff. Like there was like,
yeah, they look
cool
actually
stuff.
really, they look like a gift shop at like Disneyland or something. Like,
yeah,
very
exactly.
like nice little decor, bright colors.
Yeah.
No like piss stains on the floor.
No knee braces. Yeah.
No
Yeah,
knee
that's
braces. Employees may not wear knee braces.
Well, I don't think that like because I went to a Dollarama last month when I was in Montreal, and
Oh, you were up here.
Yep.
You should have swung by. Well, you probably flew straight into Montreal, did you?
I missed my chance. No, I drove.
Oh, you drove? Yeah, you could have.
Yeah. Oh man, I forgot. But anyways, I was in a Dollarama, and it was not. It was like my first impression was it's like much better put together than a dollar store here, because like the dollar store has just that like that thin carpeting, like you said, with piss stains on it. I was very confused because there was like a Halloween section, but then I turned around and there was like 4th of July shit right next to it, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening here, but I'm getting really confused, and I had to leave.
Still going for the 4th of July stuff.
Yeah.
So Ryan, what's this witches? What was it?
Witches Valley, man. South Witches Valley. That was my Dio. Got to throw some Dio lyrics in there. We'll get to it.
I didn't know if there was a Witches Valley near you. That would have been quite a.
Yeah, I guess if what Dio says is he comes from a place. It's Lady Evil. They say a place just south of Witches Valley.
Yep.
So I assume that would be you guys, because everything's south of me up here. So
yeah. Well,
so where are you exactly again, Ryan? I forgot.
I'm just up like near Kingston, Canada, so like Ontario.
Okay.
So if you were coming up from Rhode Island, did you go through like Syracuse and stuff, or did you go?
No, we went through Vermont.
Oh, you went through Vermont. Yeah, you wouldn't have passed me then. I'm on the other side of the St. Lawrence, basically.
Oh, okay, so. I feel better now. I feel better. I could.
Yeah. You could have waved a little out of your way to go to Toronto, and you're west of Toronto, right?
We're
you're east,
north of Toronto, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
So farther up. I'm about halfway between Toronto and Montreal, so there's like 3 hours each way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So kind of a small town, but yeah.
Nice.
I'm sure there is a Witches Valley around here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would be pretty cool. But anyway, we're glad to have Rye back on the show. So for those that don't know, Rye had a great podcast, Sabbath Bloody Podcast, which is still around. You every so often you throw out an episode, out of the blue.
Everything's still around on the internet, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I dip in every once in a while. I do little seances, so I'll kick in like if the mood strikes me and the stars align. I'll talk some Sabbath. But I'm happy to be your guys' Sabbath correspondent.
Our official, we're going out to our man in the field.
Man in the field.
We didn't think of anyone else.
Exactly.
Our neon knight, protector of the realm. Yeah. And especially to talk some Dio, because this is like a exciting one for me. I mean, last time, well, we did Born Again. Of course, we're all lovers of that one. That was a great time. And then 7 Star, a little shakier, but we got through it and it was fun. But this is getting back into some cool incarnations of Sabbath. I mean, we're not going back to the Aussie stuff. If you want my opinions on all that, it's been stated, I think. But this is one that's always been like, it was still fresh for me even when I did the podcast. Like, I arrived at this stuff without really, knowing anything outside of the Aussie stuff other than a couple of songs from this album in particular. And yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited to get back into it with you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's interesting. Like, we didn't really have any sort of rules or when we started making the podcast, but one of the kind of like unwritten rules almost is like when we have a guest host on for one of these collaborations, it's just like, now you're basically locked in for anything.
Yeah,
like,
I get typecasted. Yeah, you're not going to call me in for like
exactly. It's like
Hughes and Thrall album or
we
something.
got this coming up. Well, it's like, if Rye can't do it, I guess we can't do it. Like, we can't have somebody else. We can't do it ourselves. So,
well,
we're just
I appreciate that.
We're locked into, if it's Sabbath, it's got to be you. And we met you, one of our, I don't know, probably maybe even before we released our first episode, we made contact with you on social media, and we've been friends ever since. It's been really great chatting with you over the years.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys are the best.
So, hey, before we move on, a few things: how to support our show. You can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can buy merch at our Etsy store. You can become a patron on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can help support the show, and you can also donate on PayPal or on Cash App using $DPPOD. Normally, when we get an Apple Podcast review, we get our little our percussive, our flexitone. We sound it off. I do have a new piece of percussion available, but I'm not going to reveal that until we get our next Apple Podcast review. So we might have a twofer, we might have a flexitone and something else. But so yeah,
I should have submitted one right before the show.
Well, you still can. I think you probably did.
I'm typing right now.
3 years ago.
You should call the dollar tier the knee brace tier. Can you rename it?
The Dollar Tree.
The Dollarama knee brace tier.
Or you
what
call
time
it
is it? Hey, what time is it?
the 2:30 tier.
What time is it?
What time is it? 2:30 tier.
Deep cut. But hey, speaking of our patrons, we have some patrons to recognize. Coming in at the $25 Uncommon Man tier, we have Ovis Nakvi and Purple Maniac. At the $20 What's Going On Here tier, we have Richard Fusey. At the £10 tier, Dr. Jill Brees. At the Turn It Up to $11 tier, Clay Wambacher, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Alan Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and Mikkel Steen. And at the $10 Someone Came tier, Ryan M., Jeff Bryce, Victor Campos, Better Call Saul Evans, and Kev Roberts and his wonderful children, Matthew, Gareth, and Sarah. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the show. We really appreciate it. If you want to check out other shows, including Rye's great podcast, Sabbath Bloody Podcast, you can do so at deepdivepodcastnetwork.com or Deep Dive Podnet on Twitter. Pretty inactive, but that account is, but it does tie together all of our great shows. And one of these days when we figure out the RSS stuff, we're gonna have a better feed going on that website to bring all the episodes of this into one common place. That's been the goal for a while, but it seems like everything you can find that will do that costs. They're like, sure, we've got this great app for it. It's $49.99 a month. It's like, okay, I just want to like have a few posts up about what episodes are out. Jeez.
Yeah.
I think most of that stuff's like for like companies. So they just like, oh, does your company want to use this? Your company can afford $50 a month, but our ragtag group of podcasters is looking for a free option. So if you're out there,
we could hire an intern or something.
Exactly. Or if there's somebody out there that loves our show or other shows on the Deep Dive Podcast Network that wants to offer some suggestions or solutions as to how we could aggregate all of those many podcast feeds into one channel, let us know, because it would be really cool to have that all aggregated there. But in the meantime, you can check them all out with links in our show notes, and we're all swarming about each other on Twitter all day, every day, so you can find us there. All right, so we talked about it a little bit. Rye, do you want to kick off what your kind of background is with this album and like how you initially discovered it, got into it, what your initial feelings were, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess for my like actual initial feels, you can go to my podcast because those were kind of my initial feels. It was like I listened to them kind of in real time, only knowing a few tracks. But I had one friend who was like way into like Blind Guardian, Iced Earth, like that power metal stuff. I've always been into metal, of course, and I told him like I was into Sabbath, and he was like, "Oh yeah, well Dio Sabbath is the best Sabbath." I'm like, I haven't really listened to that, or like I don't know any of it. So what should I start with? He's like, "Oh, you got to start with Heaven and Hell, man. You got to start at the beginning." And like he played Neon Nights for me, and at the time, I mean, I was into more. I'm a '90s kid. Like I'm not gonna lie about it. I didn't feel this '80s stuff in real time. I was just a baby, so uh, I was into more like, I guess for lack of a better word, like alternative metal, like more groove oriented stuff. So I got kind of thrown off just by just the concept of a neon night and wrote it off as like a D&D kind of thing, which was what this guy was, like
Sure.
he was way into that stuff. So automatically I'm going, oh, the wizard's going to show me some new tunes. And so I didn't give it a fair shake is what I said.
Bring your D20 while you listen.
Yeah, let's roll the D12 and see where this will take us. Yeah, and that song definitely kicks in with a little bit of that vibe. But he also showed me like Heaven and Hell, and then I recognized that song I'd heard somewhere in time. But yeah, I never fully let it in. But then, I mean, let's talk about this. I mean, 2018, when I actually went back and retraced everything, I properly listened to the Rainbow stuff and the segue into there. And this is a real strong piece. I mean, completely different than the Sabbath that preceded it. So I could see why my young self got turned off. But it's really like to me, it's the first like categorically metal Sabbath album. Like, I know that they are the godfathers of metal and stuff but that's more they're an influence because certain songs that they have hit these amazing highs of, songs like Symptom of the Universe, like thrash, like, yeah, it's a thrashy song, but they weren't a thrash band. They were very experimental in the 70s and all kinds of jazz, prog, and their roots are obviously in that blues kind of thing. But I always pictured like metal was kind of like when stuff was like refined and like more straight ahead and more cleaned up, and kind of strip the blues out of it and go more with that like rhythmic, anthemic, driving stuff, right? So I think this album, like, for sure, I mean, this is metal. And it's not like they were jumping on the bandwagon either. They're at the forefront of what they inspired in a way. And because they add Dio and what he brought in, there was this credibility to it that it didn't feel like they were cashing in on, the image and stuff. That they were contributing something that really shaped the culture of heavy music heading into the 80s. So in that sense, there you go. Like, I mean, yeah, turned off of it as a dumb Luddite who liked his riffs and his, 70s hippie shit plus groove metal. But now I completely appreciate it as the masterpiece it is.
Awesome. John, what's your background? I don't know if I even know this, to be honest, as much as we talk about this stuff. What you came on with this?
Maybe you don't. I don't know. So I was an Ozzy fan first. So I obviously discovered Sabbath through Ozzy. I was, solo Ozzy first because that's when I grew up. So I wanted to hear the Ozzy Sabbath. So I was into that first, but I also knew that being into Deep Purple and then Rainbow and everything, like I knew Dio's path. And I'm pretty sure that I was into Dio, before Sabbath as well, like, his solo stuff. So, I mean, I worked my way up to that album. Like I definitely knew it existed because, I'd gone into Tape World or whatever the hell it was in the mall. And I would see, I remember the same record store, tape store that I used to see Come Taste the Band in, like just the album cover, just the cassette cover. And I'm like, one day when I have enough allowance, I'll get this, which is, why I couldn't have everything all at once is like, I remember the Heaven and Hell album cover with the smoking angels. And I'm like, one day, so, and then, finally that day came, and it was basically whenever I had enough money. I can't remember if I really heard anything off of it before I bought it, but I definitely remember thinking, like, just from everything that I've read and everything that I'd heard, that it was one of these, like, just when you hit like the 1980, it was like, that album, like Back in Black, like these were like the stripped down, kind of like, this is what the decade of like metal and hard rock was based on, like these like core albums like that. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head, but I just remember like
British Steel and
like stuff like that.
Stuff was coming out at that point. Like,
yes, they were all
real dry production. Like,
they were all kind of putting them in the same category. So for me, like, I was like, I couldn't wait to hear Sabbath with Dio, because Dio could never and still can not do any wrong. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know. There's not much stuff that I don't like that he did. So from hearing it, I was definitely like, yeah, this is good. And I think I've gained more of an appreciation of it over the years. I mean, I liked it when I was a kid, but just listening to some of the songs, which we'll get into, just like what a great song Heaven and Hell is, or even kind of how almost poppy sounding like a song like Walk Away is. It was something a little bit different, but it was really strong compared to like their last couple of efforts, which you could argue were limped across the finish line, with Ozzy, in terms of maybe how they sounded, how the writing was, maybe that kind of came through. This just kind of came back as like a revived band, kind of like
certainly commercially, like, like, as much as like I'm a huge fan of the Never Say Die and stuff like that, but
me too.
You can't deny the fact that they were at a pretty low point. So this refresh really hit.
Right. It was almost like what which I compare to you hear Never Say Die, and then you hear Heaven and Hell. It's like hearing Come Taste the Band. Who Do We Think We Are, and then hearing Burn, and you're like, how is this the same band?
Yeah, it's a new mark.
Right.
So we're into Mark II Sabbath here.
Right. It's kind of that.
Get there than with Purple.
Yeah.
But it's that same kind of like refreshed feel, like revitalized, like, yes, this is a new band. You could even say not really, but I mean, because like Highway to Hell with AC/DC is really strong and really good, but it was like a new revived era with Brian Johnson. Like, except in that case, they didn't, like, it's almost like they didn't miss a step, you know what I mean? It's so that's kind of different, but it's like, this just kind of like line of like albums by these classic bands that were like still going strong. They had this element in them that revived them and gave them new life, and this was one of them.
And just to underline what John said, I was looking this up. It's from the very beginning of Martin Popoff's book, Born Again, Black Sabbath in the 80s and 90s, which is a great book. All of Martin Popoff's books are awesome. This is a quote from Ozzy. Sabbath was a walking disaster. And then he says, everything it touched, in one hand was gold, and in the other was a big piece of shit.
Ozzy.
He said, the last 3 albums we did,
he probably shit
sucked.
in his hand.
I hated being a part of it. Probably. It got to the point where I wasn't putting my heart and soul into it. I was killing the band, and the band was killing me. So just to kind of underscore what John was saying about the band kind of wrapping up.
Right. Yeah, they don't
like
look too fondly on those that era, but
I love that stuff.
Me too. I love it so much, and it's so much experimenting with sound and everything in there that that's the thing with this. There's just a new focus. And I think a big credit of it is how confident Dio is when he comes in, because I mean, he's coming from being kind of a whipping boy in Rainbow, from what I can tell.
Right. And he's very, and I don't mean this in like the literal sense, but he's very sober minded. It seems like he's always he seems to be clear headed, seems to have direction, seems to know what he wants to do.
Yes.
Didn't ever seem to be messed up with like drugs or drinking in any way that that I've ever really heard or read about, like not like others were. He was just kind of had his wits about him, and he knew kind of what he wanted to do. And he says in here too, one of the things like he didn't like about working with Blackmore. Well, he respected Blackmore, but Blackmore was like kind of a great player, but not really a band guy. And he felt like when he was in Sabbath, he was back in a band again. Like he was part of a band, and Tony Iommi wasn't like, I'm calling all the shots, I'm doing everything. Tony also treated it like a band. And I think that's what he really liked about it. But
and Tony, as much as he does seem like an intimidating presence and everything, he's not the same kind of control freak that I think Blackmore would be. And Dio is, I mean, when this whole lineup goes through their run here, there's obviously a lot of stones thrown as far as people saying that Dio was a control freak, or Iommi and Geezer were teaming up on him. And that happens like as the band progresses. But at the initial time, it's like Dio was the perfect, like the anti-Ozzy, and he was fed up with Ozzy. So it's like the perfect guy to like lock into and be like, hey, this is a guy who's going to come in here, he's going to bang out a song in every rehearsal. It's going to be a new song, and he's going to push me. So he was right for Iommi in that sense. And Dio was, I just recently, I read his book that Mick Wall did recently. And I remember the chapter, I was most interested in that. Like I kind of almost wanted to, I should have got the audiobook and just kind of fast forwarded a little bit to get to that. Cause I mean, that's the juncture where I really want to hear about it. But there was this sense of, Ritchie kind of gave him a shot to like be like, hey, write stuff to be a bit more poppy, because that's kind of like, that's the way he spins, is like Ritchie wanted me to write more love song, get away from the rainbows and the dragons and all that stuff. And he's like, but I wasn't really done with that, in the sense that like I didn't think we took it where it could go even. And so like he continued it on using like Sabbath is a good sideways thing to go into, and then use the momentum that, well, I mean, just the history of Sabbath to put that darkness on top of the stuff that he was doing in Rainbow it's a new beast. It's fucking cool, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's mythical, but he can also go darker than he could with Rainbow, really. Because Ritchie loves ABBA and shit. He loves all that shoe shine music.
Yeah. And well, yeah,
we won't get into Ritchie
because he's always, he'll sometimes he wants to go down that path, and sometimes he does want like the more poppy commercial stuff. You never really know. And it's got to be, like you said, with the intimidation factor. If you've been in a band with Blackmore and survived, I mean, I'm sure being in a band with anybody else has got to be a piece of cake. I mean,
thick skin by that point.
Iommi,
and he comes in with so much confidence on this album. It's incredible.
Oh yeah. I mean, with a lot to back it up too. So
yeah,
I mean, it's
the chops for sure. And
well, that's the thing is like, you didn't have with Dio an unknown at that point. I mean, he was still, I guess, new-ish in his career. I mean, he'd been around for a while at that point. But I mean, what you said, Nate, is something that is true about Ronnie. Was like he always did, like you said, seem like sober minded, or like just really focused, like on every one of his albums. It was just like, there were some that were better than others, but I mean, I think he always knew who he was and who he wanted to be. And I think that's why he approached this with, such confidence. And I mean, anti-Ozzy and, the, like every way, like, I mean, they just completely, like, they went from like, from Ozzy to like, a guy that was like, for what we know, sober, a vocalist, like an accomplished vocalist, songwriter, like just brought a lot to the table. Not that Ozzy didn't, but I mean, I think he was more trained, I guess you could say.
And he was an instrumentalist. He could play multiple instruments and write on that level rather than just kind of on a straight melody.
Right.
And another thing that I think, I forget who it said, I think it was Iommi. One of the Iommi's quotes was, when Ozzy was writing, particularly early on, he just kind of like sang along with the riff, Dun, 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 dun. And whereas Dio would not have done that. If Dio was doing Iron Man, he would have sung something completely different over it.
Right.
So he was coming from it and I think it's probably just the fact of, at this point, Dio had probably been playing in bands for close to 20 years, maybe longer. And Ozzy was just starting in bands, been playing with a couple of years when Black Sabbath started. So I think it's all, some of that's just experience. My intro to this album was through my cousin Jeff, who lived next door to me and went to high school with John, and who I met John through. But I just remember him always just like, he'd be going around go, if you listen to fools, the mob rules. And I was like, for like the longest time, I didn't even know I was like, what is that? Like, what are you singing? And I remember he sang in like a particular way that was like, I almost think of that more than I think of the real song, the way that he used to sing it. Cause I probably heard him sing it 100 times before I ever heard the song. But I remember he had Live Evil. And at that point I knew Ozzy stuff and some Sabbath stuff. So he put on Live Evil, and that was my introduction to this album. The songs they did, I think Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, and Heaven and Hell, I think, is on that. But then he also does the Ozzy stuff, which I was not crazy about the way he did the Ozzy stuff. So it was this kind of mixed bag of like, really don't like how he's handling the songs I know, but these new songs that I haven't heard before, really dig those. Very different, very interesting. And that's how I kind of got into it. And then from there I kind of heard Dio. I don't think my cousin had the other two albums. It's funny what John was saying. It's funny to think back on how you would just be lusting after an album in a record store and be like, nope, I can't buy this today. And like, I'm just going to think about it for like a month, or A, you had to find it, and B, then you had to save up the money to get it. It's just even growing up that way, it's such an alien concept now to not just be like, oh, what's that song? All I need is the ability to roughly be able to spell it in a search engine, and I can listen to it any one of a number of ways for free instantly.
Oh God, yeah.
So
yeah, and like I was said with me, like going back to this stuff, like I was able to like go back and listen to like every Elf album, every Rainbow album, and
that would have been
in a row.
That was
to like prep
but
myself.
for some of that stuff that was more like sort of recent for you, right?
Yeah.
And that's, there's been so much stuff I've discovered through the course of the show where, instantly, boom, I could go get it. But I remember in those days in like the early 90s, just being like, you heard legend that you didn't even know what the album cover looked like. And you'd have to just go to the record store and hope for the best every time. Or
every time I got dropped off at the mall, I would just go back to that section and just be like, yep, still here, hoping that nobody would buy it.
hide it in some section like that nobody goes in.
Hide it in like, jazz or new wave or something. Like, actually, I might have done that a couple of times too. Like, just like, I'll be back.
Still do that in used stores. I always have like my little squirrel pack ones that I just like nest behind the the Humperdinks and all that.
Oh man. But so for a really good detailed description of what was going on this time, I'll put a link to Rye's episode on this album in the show notes. It's really, really great. And I remember like,
I should have listened back and checked it before we drive any traffic to that thing.
Like, oh,
I don't know. Like I said, when you guys listen to it, like know that that's like my first pass or whatever. So I might be harder on some of the stuff actually, because I do know that I remember that this did sound kind of sterile to me, like the mix and stuff and the production. It took some time for me to appreciate the context of it, because I like doomy, heady, hippie shit,
Yeah, I mean,
that
makes perfect
sense. Not
sense.
really that, but once you get into what it is.
But I know you tell a really good story of what kind of going at this time, and just in short, I can't imagine anyone's listening to this that doesn't know the basic history of Black Sabbath. So obviously, I'm not exactly breaking any new ground with this theory, but Ozzy Sabbath is what I generally gravitate to. I know I'm not alone. It's not a hot take by any means, but that's kind of what I grew up listening to. And like John, I kind of discovered it in reverse through discovering solo Ozzy. So I kind of come from that same background. But Dio was introduced to Tony Iommi by Sharon Arden, which was kind of interesting.
That's the rumor, yeah. I even remember in Dio's book, I think Wendy writes half the book though, so you can't take it for what it is. But I think it was actually Wendy and Sharon hanging out, and they orchestrated it. The ladies really do take over with those lads with the management and stuff. Like even Geezer's wife is his manager. I think even at that point is when she started managing him. But yeah, that's the story.
Who runs
Sharon,
the world?
I love Sharon.
Girls.
I believe it. She'd have the foresight to put those two studs together. That's for sure.
Sharon's a genius. I think she should support this podcast.
She should be on here with us
at the $500,000 tier.
Yeah,
she's good for it.
She'd get somebody to re-record me and John and just
she's Robert Trujillo.
Is that Rye or is that Robert Trujillo? Trujillo. How do you? Oh God,
Trujillo.
Trujillo, right?
We're dead. One of
I say Trujillo.
Trujillo. That's it. Yeah, I said it wrong because Nate said it wrong. You heard that first.
I remember when he joined Metallica, they did like a video introducing him, and he basically like said his name, but like the extended version of his name in like Spanish, so it was even more confusing. He's like Trujillo, and I was like, okay, this guy's just.
Is it
this
Trujillo?
guy's just
Trujillo?
Trujillo. I think it's Trujillo, right?
I say Trujillo. Yeah.
I got into him through Infectious Grooves.
Oh yeah, Infectious Grooves is great.
That first album, man, I played that like crazy. Love. He's such a good bass player. But anyway,
if you guys want to cover some Infectious Grooves, I'll come back. Is there any Deep Purple connections there?
So we'll do a whole show.
We'll find one
on Sarsipius.
Was Psycho Mike on a Joe Lynn Turner project or something? I don't know.
That'd be something.
We'll find the connection.
But so there's this point where from what I'm gathering that Ozzy left the band, and it was not like a foregone conclusion that the band was going to continue. It was just like, well, we're kind of not a band anymore. But then at this point, Dio is introduced to Iommi. They form this thing. They start doing it, and it's not even really clear at that point if is this going to be and this trend continues on.
Is it going to be a solo album?
Yeah, is it going to be a solo album, or is it going to be Sabbath? And then of course we hang on to Sabbath for a little bit longer, and then eventually everything he touches becomes Sabbath until nothing he touches becomes Sabbath later on. But so they've got that going on. Dio starts on bass and vocals because Geezer was going through a divorce. I don't even know if he's going to be playing on it. And Craig Gruber comes on and plays bass for like the entire album basically, and then has all of his tracks recorded over by.
Right, that's a big drama there. I think I do unpack that in my show a bit more, but from what I remember, that was very interesting. Diving into his claims of how much he contributed and what he contributed and.
Yeah, and I think there was some like he goes on record saying like I co-wrote everything on the album, and then they reached some sort of financial deal, and then at some point he's like, okay, I wrote part of Die Young.
Right.
And that's it.
He went back on it. Yeah. Once he got the cash. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no doubt that they kind of completed the stuff to a pretty good extent before Geezer came back, because he came back pretty late and the album came out pretty quick. As far as into their cycle, like this is sometimes with Sabbath, like they release the album like after touring for like a month, like they'll even do like a European leg and release the album midway through that or whatever. But with this album, I think it came out pretty much like the same week they started up their tour. So I think everything was done with. And I do think it is, like, as much as they've said in the past that is it Gruber on the entire album, it's Geezer, you can tell.
Right.
It's a different style of Geezer though, because of the way that he's involved. Because I mean, he's not taking on so much. He's not as involved in it. He came in kind of as almost a session guy himself, because he would have demoed a few of the songs. I know they were working on Gillan of the Sea and Lady Evil and a couple of jams even with Ozzy before. And when Dio came in, there's some demos recently that have been released that are like, there's a song called Slapback. Have you heard that one?
No.
Okay, you look it up, Slapback. It was released like last year. Somebody who had access to Jeff Nichols' estate. There was also the demo of Heaven and Hell was released as well. I think
I heard that one.
John, you sent that to me, I think.
Yeah, that was fantastic too.
Yeah, really cool to hear. Like you can kind of tell like how that, we'll get into maybe when we talk about that song, but there was a demo on there and Geezer confirmed that he was involved at that point. So like when Dio came in, they still jammed and wrote some stuff. But then he took off and they picked up. So between Jeff Nichols and Craig Gruber eventually, but Dio as well, they all like kind of played bass and on these tracks. So I think the things would have been formed like, and of course, Bill Ward's still on board this entire time. So I think he's the only drummer that's involved
Yes. Yep.
through it all. But yeah, interesting stuff, because there's a lot of ins and outs during the process, but the core is there. I mean, it's Dio and Iommi really steer how these demos form into the combination that we get on the album. So
Mhm.
so Gruber can but I mean, hell, if Die Young is the only one he wrote, that I'm not going to bury the lead, but Die Young is one of my fucking favorites from his album. Killer song.
Hell yeah.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, for all we know, yeah, either that's the story he's telling, or that is the truth, or who knows.
Yeah. I like it when they actually give credits, like even like it would be nice if you saw Gruber next to that one song, if he really did bring that song in. I mean, he deserves to be, but that's
Seems to
not the
be
way they operate there.
no
They like to
long-standing ardent
keep it
tradition
clean.
of not
Yeah.
of not necessarily crediting who's involved.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously we got the core band. Everyone is familiar with Geezer Butler on bass, Bill Ward on drums, Tony Iommi on guitar, Jeff Nichols on keyboards, and Ronnie Dio on vocals. Technical, we have Graham Wright and Mickey Balla. Graham Wright had previously worked with Sabbath on Sabotage, Technical Ecstasy, and Never Say Die. Mickey Balla had his only other credit was from a Maynard Ferguson album in 1982. And then we have Joe Foglia, who worked with Foxy, Outlaws in the 70s, and then Man-O-War in the 80s. That's
nice. You're talking metal now.
Man-O-War, man. That's crazy. And then obviously,
yeah, Sabbath never put on the cod pieces. Ozzy did, but
and they left their shirts on for the most part. Sometimes, well, Ozzy's not so much, but
they'd have some décolletage, but never full.
It was Man-O-War. I guess if I looked like those guys, I wouldn't wear a shirt either. But
yeah.
And then the producer obviously is Martin Birch, but it's just regular flavor, vanilla Martin Birch, no nickname or middle name on this one. So I don't know if it just wasn't feeling frisky or what the story is behind that. But then we get into, Rye touched it on it already, but we've got the album cover here. Heaven and Hell, the Smoking Angels. What do you guys think about this one?
Yeah, it's a cool one for sure. I really love the typeface on this. I know it's a very standard one, but it's just classy as fuck, right? Yeah. You got it's like an oil painting basically. So, and then like the I think so who's the artist who did this? Is that in the credits there?
Yeah, the artist who did this cover is Lynn Curley. And actually, I've got a link in the show notes. Our buddy Joe at blacksabbath.com, Sabbath fans on Twitter, actually did a really good interview with him, and it's on his website. So I've got a link that's really interesting. And this was from a series called Mask, a series of paintings of people in costumes. And
because I've seen the photo that was like the reference that circulates quite a bit.
So yeah, so this was based on a photo right here, which is
oh, cool.
Women dressed like angels at a Christmas pageant, and they're in between takes or scenes rather, or whatever it is, and they're just outside having a smoke and playing cards.
I'd never seen that.
He took this photo, and actually the painting that he did originally, and I couldn't find a copy of it. I think he says it's because he sold it. Was of all 5 of these women, but since they had to crop it to be square for an album cover, you just get those 3 angels on the right. Yeah. And then brings you back.
Wait for the super deluxe box set. That'll rip around there.
No, you could
take it out.
So yeah, it just focuses on these 3 and then embellishes a little with this because she's actually holding the cards in her hand there. So kind of a funny thing. But yeah, I think he said in interviews too that he sold it to somebody who was a Black Sabbath fan, and I don't know if it's known. Somebody must know who owns it, but yeah, it's an interesting. It reminded me, like, I always kind of equated it with like the Smoking Baby Angel on 1984. It's just kind of that funny, irreverent sort of like the 1984 one was just shocking to me as a kid when I saw it. I was like, oh my god. Because the baby smoking. And then this one is just like the angel smoking. It's kind of funny, like angels on their smoke break.
Yeah, that's a really that's kind of a cool way of looking at it. I think, like, without knowing that, I think you just kind of personified how I feel about it. Like the angels are taking their smoke break from being like good angels, I remember seeing this one and thinking it was such a cool, understated album cover. It was very, to me, it was very personified Sabbath, because there was always that kind of duality of like God, devil, like good, evil in their music and their lyrics, like the background surrounding them. So to me, this made a lot of sense. Like angels being bad angels, like just doing their thing behind the scenes, kind of like the theme park character takes their hat off and they go for a smoke and they're like,
Yeah.
"Ah, don't look,"
Yeah.
Mickey,
So-
no.
But even though the looking at it really close, like, I mean, I agree with Rye too. The typeface is really great. It's got a little, it looks plain, but if you look at it enough, there's like a little something in there that makes it kind of
It's like a
interesting.
very, very subtle serif in there. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the painting itself, like, I mean, I have definitely seen things or rated things on this show where I'm just like, yeah, that's a great detail and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you look at the faces on this, they don't really look that great, especially like the angels on either end kind of look a little bit like, it could have been done better and more detail maybe, but it doesn't bother me because I feel like the concept of the album cover really just, it conveys something, which I had already mentioned. So I think it just is a perfect album for this album cover for this era.
Yeah, I
if you
had
look
to
at-
dig into my vinyl stack here because there was actually this here. So this is I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah,
But
that's
I got the
Blue
BOC
Oyster
album.
Cult. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the same dude who did this painting.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, the style.
Okay.
This one kind of looks like Freddie Mercury here. Or something. But
No, but yeah, you
or
can tell.
Iommi. I don't know. Iommi with a haircut. But yeah, like his style is kind of that like really
Yeah.
flat gouache kind of
Mhm.
thing, and it really works. Like more so, like the digital one kind of lose some of it, but there's a lot of detail in there. One detail I'm noticing now I never noticed before. Look at the angel on the far left there. It's got tiny wings,
Oh,
like
yeah.
No More Tears style wings.
Hmm. All right.
Well, that
Yeah.
must be foreboding or foreshadowing to.
Or
Yeah.
like the angel in the middle is kind of squinting with one eye, like, the smoke is kind of like getting in that one eye, and she's kind of like, oh, like, yeah. Whenever you show these covers and blow them up and we analyze them, I always notice things. And I mean, I've been looking at these album covers for 30 something odd years, and it's like, oh, I never noticed that, or they never noticed the tiny wings,
Yeah, I never noticed that either.
or
Yeah,
like
the art-
the subtle typeface,
Yeah.
The artist's style, that this is part of a series, and I think that Blue Oyster Cult album is from that same series, but of people in costumes, and it's definitely his style. Like he doesn't go for like the crazy detail or shading in the faces. It's like that kind of washed out look that Ryan
Hmm.
described. But
Yeah,
whenever
this
I
is
describe art, I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
this is a 76 is when Don't Fear or Agents of Fortune came. I almost called it Don't Fear the Reaper, but that's the one with Don't Fear the Reaper on it. If you guys want to need more cowbell. Yeah, so I guess the idea has been flowing around, and like there's some connections with Blue Oyster Cult that we could probably get into. Management with Sabbath at this time. Don Arden, once Dio comes in, he's not having anything to do with that. He had some unsavory words to say about what he thought of Dio and his appearance and stuff like that. So he basically said, you guys can get somebody else to manage. And they got Sandy Pearlman, who is Blue Oyster Cult's guy as well. So the whole thing going into this album, they kind of had that guy in place, knowing that they were going to do this big tour coming out with Blue Oyster Cult. But yeah, maybe there was something there with the art. Maybe he
Yeah, could
referenced,
possibly they had worked with,
or
him
he got a
already.
2-for-1 from Lynn there.
Could have been.
Mm.
But yeah, that's the album cover. Going into the, obviously on Vertigo.
You got the gradient vertigo. The swirl is gone.
Yeah, I know, right? Just the orange gradient.
The 80s are here.
Yeah, the back
No more
cover,
hippie
like kind
shit.
of a long live rock and roll style illustration. This illustration's by Harry Carmine. It's the only credit I could find by him. So just he did this as a one-off, no other album.
Okay, that's something I always wondered. Did he do the Long Live Rock and Roll cover? Because it looks
nope,
very similar. Okay,
I don't know if they were like, hey, let's do something like this, but maybe Dio was involved. He's like, hey, last thing I did with Rainbow looked kind of like this. You want to do the same thing? I don't know, but
I could see him being into this kind of like sketched, like it looks like a Renaissance kind of sketch,
Yeah,
very
this
looks
kind of like this looks like it would be the album cover for like a Bread or Poco or something. You know what I mean? Like one of those bands. Like they would use this as the album cover, and that's what it kind of. I don't know if it was just because it was coming out of the '70s and this is the style, or why they.
It looks like they took Bill Ward off of like a Civil War painting or something. It's just like, let's put this Civil War general in here. Bill Ward wasn't available to sit for this, so let's get this picture of Ulysses S. Grant and sketch it, and kind of put a beard on him, and there you go.
I was gonna say he kind of looks like Hugh McGregor's Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
From the episode 1 and all that guy.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can tell it's Bill Ward, but yeah, it's definitely a different look, the hair and the.
But even if you look at it, it's like Iommi, like the look on his face, he's just kind of like,
are you done yet?
and then Geezer, they're just
looks like a swashbuckling pirate.
He does, yeah.
They're just like, hey, you know what? Let's go really heavy with the black on the mustache and like the eyebrows and the eyeliner on Geezer. Okay, let's just really shade that out. Let's just blend that in, and then Dio just looks like Dio.
Yeah,
Dio he looks like a model though. He looks like Fabio or something back there. Yeah, like I think Dio got the picture done first, and I was like, yeah, just add the other guys. I look great.
Sexy Dio. But he looks like he's the only one I think that really captured perfectly. The other three are a little. I mean, they're good drawings.
The Iommi one, I'm thinking of like Napoleon Dynamite. When he sketches his girlfriend. It took me forever to get the shading right on your upper lip.
I mean, it's still a cool pick, but when you look at it, you're just kind of like, they might have been able to pick better pictures, or like, I don't know if they posed for it, if they took it from like a band photo or individual photos, but
yeah, it's still got like a class to it, like where it seems like something like between that and the font on the front, like whoever did the like design layout of this, it's pretty well balanced.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. I mean, it fits in with the album, even though like, Bill Ward looks like he's wearing like a bolo tie or something. Like it's really, I mean, we haven't known Bill for his great fashion choices. I mean, just lest we forget the Sabotage album cover.
Yeah, they didn't color in his pants. He's probably still got those on.
Yeah, he's got the button-up shirt, but he's like on a Zoom meeting. He's got the button-up shirt and he's wearing the skin tight pants below, the red pants. Oh man. So anyway, that's the album art. Not a ton to go over there, but some interesting stuff.
It's pretty iconic though.
Yeah, it certainly
think
is.
about the angels smoking on the cover.
Oh yeah.
All right, so you gentlemen ready to get into some of the music here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh heck yeah,
let's do it. But one thing we must do first, and that is to thank our core level patrons. Coming in at the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, we have Michael Vader. At the episode $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith, and Anton Glaving. At the $6.65 Almost Evil tier, we have Kenny Wymore. At the $5.99 Nice Price tier, we have Fielding Fowler, Robert Smith, Peter from Illinois, Michael Bagford, and Carl Hellberg. And at the $5 Moneylender tier, John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Elman, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, James North, Mark Hodgetts, Will Porter, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, Tim Southern Cross Johnson, and Percival Frequency. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. We couldn't do it without you. All right. So all tracks, according to the album, are written by Iommi Butler Ward, and it says with lyrics by Dio, but I think he must have done something with the music. They were jamming basses and stuff, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how they decided upon who's credited with what. And then of course, if this is the original release, if what's presented later is to believe, then Gruber's got some credit on Die Young. So here we go.
We'll give the unspoken credits where we can, right?
Exactly. We'll give.
Jeff Nichols should have got one for Heaven and Hell by the demo.
That's right. All right. So here we go. The opening track, side 1, Neon Nights. Let me know how that volume is for you guys.
A little low.
Turn it up. Yeah, Dio's just balls out right from the beginning. Does he even say that? Balls out.
Good.
Yeah.
No,
Can't come out of the gate any stronger than that.
Well, I just remember thinking that like it sounded a lot higher. Like I wondered, like I mean, if I looked into it, I probably would know if they tuned up from Ozzy. But I mean, it definitely sings like they're tuned in a higher key, and like Dio was singing like in a higher key than what Sabbath would have done previously.
Yeah, I think by like Never Say Die, they were in pretty much the standard tuning, but this is definitely standard tuning kind of.
And I feel like there's like a lot of purists out there at the time, although you don't hear it as much now as you would then, just saying, oh, it's not really Black Sabbath because it's a different singer, but you know, you hear that same nonsense about every band ever with every lineup change.
Yeah.
But it doesn't persist to this present day the way that some of these opinions do.
Yeah.
So I think they got past that, because to me, when I first heard this, my thought was, wow, it sounds like Black Sabbath with Dio singing. You know, it wasn't like, oh, it sounds like this new thing. And that's what I loved about it. And I thought the exact same thing when I heard Born Again, because it was like that legendary, there's a Gillan album with Sabbath, what? And then I heard it and I was like, oh my God, it sounds like Black Sabbath with Ian Gillan singing.
Well, that's because, I mean, you have the like undeniable sounds of like the original Sabbath musicians in there. I mean, like Tony's guitar, first of all. I mean, it's like when you hear the solo, it's like, all right, you know it's Iommi. See?
Perfect timing.
I do find his soloing it's quite a bit different than like your like his roots bluesy stuff. He definitely gets more into the vibe of composing more. There's more dynamics, a little bit more Guitar Hero theatrics come into. I think he uses a wah-wah pedal and all that stuff. But in comparison to like I don't know, maybe some of his contemporaries, like they would have just come off a tour with Van Halen blowing them off the stage apparently, but like you can tell he's kind of wanting to compete in that Guitar Hero vibe. Like some of those little runs, you know.
Yeah.
They're a little tappier.
A little bit.
Yeah, but still, yeah, he's still got Iommi swagger for sure. Yeah, the lyrics are a bit much on this one in particular. But I think this one is very much just like a battle cry kind of song. And obviously setting the template for a big part of what Dio Sabbath is, and having that anthemic underdog thing.
This is the classic Dio sounding opening track. Even though we said it sounds just like Sabbath, we'd kind of be at home on any Dio fronted album.
I don't care for the fade out on the first track. I think you need a nice punch into the next one.
A cool ending on that, but yeah, what are you gonna do? All right, Neon Nights. How are you, gentlemen? Who wants to start with the rankings? Should we give it to our guest first?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I'll go first. And yeah, that's a nice and quick one, isn't it? Definitely a statement track, like I said, and really sequenced perfectly. I mean, it's maybe not the strongest, but it has all these elements in it for what they're pushing forward with. So it's a great, like, if you are kind of hung up still on the old Sabbath, it's a palate cleanser that tells you like, well, get over it, buddy, because this is different. I know you guys are saying like Nate, you said it sounded like Sabbath with Dio singing. I don't hear that as much. I think that all the stuff changes behind, like Geezer's attack is way different at this point. Like you'll hear him throughout the album. He gets a lot more busy with his bass lines. I don't know if it's because he's not thinking about having to write lyrics for everything, and he's not as involved in the songwriting process in general. So he's just a bassist. So he'd go in there and he could maybe move around a little bit more. But yeah, I'm going to give this, like, just because of the positioning of it and it being a great opener, I got to give it a 4, just because it's like, it's the perfect opener of the batch. But I will say, I don't think Nibby's doing, or Bill Ward's doing much like for me on this one. He's just kind of keeping time. He fluctuates on this album. You can kind of tell that, like, he's into certain tracks and he's out of certain tracks.
Mhm.
And he's gone on record as saying he doesn't really remember much of this because he was in a rough state at the time. That's well documented. But he has also said that, like, he got turned off by some of the themes that Dio was bringing. So
Mhm.
I could see maybe a Neon Knights, old Bill, the old head that he is. Yeah, he liked that dark hippie shit that Geezer was writing. So this is definitely different to that. So, but yeah, great opener. So I'll give it a 4.
All right, John, what do you think?
I think it's a great opener as well. I always love this song, so I give it a 4 as well. I think I'm between the two. Like, one of you said it sounds different Sabbath, and Nate, Nate, you said it sounded like Sabbath with Dio, and Rye says it sounds like new Sabbath. I think I tend more toward that. Like, it sounds like newer Sabbath, or different, because it's like you can tell by listening to it. Like, I don't know if it's just like, us knowing Sabbath, but it's like, you have to kind of like listen in there and and pick it out. Like, I think if you were a casual music listener, you'd be like, oh, it's a Dio solo album. You wouldn't even know. But I mean, if you go from like Sabbath's roots, they were kind of the first kind of like stoner rock type of, like, that really loose jam bandy bluesy, and then they got all prog and everything they were getting into, and then some really, unusual stuff in the last couple of albums. And this just sounds really, focused and well produced. And it almost sounds like, all right, this is like Sabbath stepped up their game somehow, because like you were saying, the attack was different, the solo was a little different, like everything just sounds more precise. It sounds like more intentional. And maybe that was them working with Dio and Martin Birch, and they kind of made that effort to be more focused after the band was kind of falling apart with Ozzy. But either way, it worked, and it's a great opener.
Yeah, I agree with you guys as well. 4. I give it a 4. So I'm on one end of the spectrum. I just like the
It's a good opener, buddy.
to me, it's solid opener, and there's something about, though, that his Iommi's guitar tone and and I'm notoriously bad for, like, I don't know the names of any Black Sabbath songs.
That's called the Beavis tone. Yeah.
But yeah, it does sound like Beavis.
I like Black Sabbath.
Yes.
Funny, we were just talking about that before the
Yeah.
but yeah,
when you were like, we're gonna have this butthead Rye on here again. Oh yeah, Beavis and Butthead. Remember that?
No, I've been watching the reboot.
Oh, have you? Yeah, I haven't started watching it yet.
It's just as
Do they still do the music videos?
That's what I'm doing after the show.
No, they do, like, instead of music videos, they do like viral videos and TikToks and like YouTube videos. It's great.
Okay, awesome.
This will mean different things to different people, but it's exactly the same as it was as far as quality. And
that is, if we're going to talk about
so
my heavy metal origin story, it's basically Beavis and Butthead. I mean, everything I came to, that's how I got into Megadeth and everything. So
yeah, it's great. Consistent quality level over 30 years of episodes of the similar style and writing and everything. But anyway, yeah, great song. To me, it sounds like Sabbath. Like there's some that chug, but it reminds me of a specific Sabbath song that I can't think of the name of, because I don't know the name of any Sabbath songs, despite listening to all those albums a million times. But yeah, it's got a great Sabbath groove to it, and that's what I really like about it. And I think that's why I would have been considered a heavy, like a metalhead in high school, but I never really was a metalhead. I think I always attached myself to the things that had a really good groove like this. more so than just like straight ahead speed metal or double bass drum going like crazy. Like that sort of stuff never grabbed me the same way. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's the opening track. So next track, you've heard of Children of the Grave. Well, this is Children of the Sea. different children.
And we're getting into the masterpiece era here. This one. I love the acoustic tone.
Yeah, this is great.
And that bass little call and response there, I love that. Do 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 do.
Yep.
It's like neoclassical. This is one that really shows off the traditional metal, you know, like this is the beginning of it, the 80s, but I really like Dio's soft voice there, maybe just because he spins it right into power.
Yeah, and
incredible showcase of his range, right?
And this is something that Dio would be like do a lot in his songs, is like start off with that really soft opening and then just like blast you in the face with like a heavy riff, like the last.
He grinds his vocal up with the change there. It's really awesome.
Yeah, he's so good at that.
Yeah,
we've heard his soft voice so many times, and that's not what he's known for. But man, can he do it good?
Yeah, well, the key to his soft voice there is it disarms you, and he delivers on the other end of it. This is probably my favorite chorus, is Dio Sabbath here. It's just get the letters up. That lift.
And I mean, like, Iommi's guitar tone is just so fat.
Yeah.
When he lets those notes ring out, you're just like, man, that is just like heavy.
Geezer's got a great pocket on this one too.
Yeah.
More so than kind of some of the stuff he does on like Heaven and Hell. It's more like boom, 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 boom. This one's got.
This is so
moves
Sabbath
with the riff.
This
is very Sabbath. Okay, I'll give you the Sabbath on this one. But this is the one that they were workshopping with Ozzy. So
can't imagine that.
No, neither can I. But I want to hear it.
But when you hear this song, you can just like you listen to it and you can hear all the musicians perfectly. It was very well produced because you can listen to the guitar, the bass, the vocals, the drums, and you can kind of pick everything out and just appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Iommi does claim he has a demo of this with Ozzy singing, but that's never come out, right? Nobody's ever heard of it.
No. I don't think it ever will. Because Dio this was also apparently the first song that they showed Dio, and he like just laid it out for them like on the spot, and that's kind of what made this partnership.
And I mean,
I like that he's not afraid to like kind of not scat, but he does these vocal things like over like the tail of an Iommi riff, and like I mean, Ozzy was always he positioned himself and let the riff take front stage, which is probably why I really like Ozzy Sabbath, because the riff goes forward. But Dio's not afraid to sing over it.
Isn't that like chorus in the background?
Oh, yeah, that's Jeff Nichols, right?
It's clear. Yeah, it's clear. It's got to be a.
That's a Casio patch there.
But it sounds so awesome.
It does sound awesome, actually. It's
like,
definitely
it has no
better than the
business sounding
Seventh Star.
awesome as it does for what it is.
Yeah.
No, that's a really.
Casio.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they brought a choir in for that. I don't know. Sounds pretty organic.
Yeah, it's hard to tell back then because they just would have brought a choir in and not credited them at all back in those days.
I like how it holds here.
It does almost sound like vocals, to be
Yeah,
honest.
maybe it's a Mellotron with like a
Yeah, it could be.
So good though.
killer, yeah.
And
Yeah,
something we
Jeff
talk
Nichols
about
adds-
a lot in these older songs is a lot of dynamics too.
He's fucking with a pitch wheel there too. Nichols is all over this one.
Yeah. Woo! Did they bring Mark Nossif in for that? Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, I think what you said might be it. I wasn't listening carefully enough, but it could be like one of the, because those vocal
It sounds like a
Mellotron
sample,
loops
yeah.
are super haunting if you use them right. Like that's all
Yeah.
spooky.
This chorus is just perfection, though. He can keep doing it over and over again for all I care. The lift, it's got that same thing. Another song like Junior's Eyes does that on the chorus, where it actually just gives me chills. Like, and I can't not get chills. Oh, and this outro is fucking badass too. This whole part here.
He's got Dio's stamp all over it.
Yeah, and Ward's got the swing. This is fucking Sabbath here. Those punches. Look out!
And that's so.
Oh,
I mean, I don't want to step on anybody, but the ending is so not what you'd expect from a song like this. Like epic song with all these builds and crescendos and ups and downs. They just got look out and boom, it's over. It's like, whoa, what just happened?
They crank it into another zone there in that outro. It's amazing. And it's actually like thinking of the first song and how Neon Nights just kind of fades out.
Yeah.
That song almost seems like one that would need like a lookout moment.
Yeah, they might have.
And then this one could fade
two,
out and just keep doing the chorus over and over again. And then I could be happy to know that he's still singing that somewhere or something like that. But the end of this one is just incredible.
So according to my notes, he would have been using his the JDSG, the old boy guitar on this one. And then for amplification, which was, I was kind of interested in amplification. He would have been using a Marshall Super Lead 1959 on this album and on Mob Rules, which interestingly was a modified amp, modified by John Doc Stillwell, who we talked about on the show before. Did a lot of modifications for Deep Purple, including Roger Glover's awesome Rickenbacker with the diagonal pickups. If you ever seen that one, he did a bunch of modifications. Just a true genius when it came to that sort of stuff, modifying amps and instruments and all sorts of stuff. So interesting to see that little connection there.
Yeah, I think Iommi tried to pull him in as his tech too, and I think he might have even done the Heaven and Hell cycle with him, or the Mob Rule cycle.
He was probably, maybe he was hanging out with Birch for a while too, so he just was tied in with all those guys.
Yeah, but he took him on tour because he like loved what he was doing with these sounds and stuff. And it is different than, like, you know, Iommi's known for like the Laney 70s vibe. Like there's a different tone here. It's more attack, and this kind of tone carries through all the Dio stuff has this kind of raunchier Marshall tone, and even right into like Born Again. I mean, I guess the speaker blew up by that point by the time they were recording that one, but even the tone of his guitar on that, you can hear it through the production. Sounds like more of a Marshall. It's fucking metal, man. They're into the metal. We already established this. You got to have Marshalls, right? You got to have a big fucking Marshall stack.
We get a lot of folks. I've had a lot of folks over the years write it. You guys should do a show focused on all the gear that they use. And I was like, man, I would love to, but I'm a dummy about that stuff. Like, I don't think I could. One thing
I want to do that with Sabbath. Actually, that's one of the seances that I want to do.
You did do it. Like you had that segment, that Metal Gear segment on your shows where you talk.
Oh, that's
about
right. Yeah,
gear,
yeah.
And that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So like, if you're into that sort of stuff, check out Rye's episodes on Black Sabbath. He does get into it, and that's one of those things.
I need to do like a showcase where you concentrate on it though, because you can. Yeah, you need to have notes in front of you to like go through how stuff changes, and I need to get like guests on who are like actual musicians.
What you need is like a guest that doesn't even need the notes. That's so good that they would.
Yeah,
know,
you need like,
he was using his custom 1958 blah blah blah.
And there's a lot of those guys for Tony.
Oh yeah, there's
a lot of worshippers, and I talked to a few of them actually. I'll have to hit them up. But you can definitely tell there's a gear shift. And also like the production. I mean, let's give some credit to Martin Birch. He's that song is incredible.
An absolute master.
Yeah.
So speaking of that song, what would you rank it, Rye?
Oh, it's it's a fucking 5. It's outstanding. One of the like not to jump ahead, but like Dio, they always there's a song in this kind of slot that's that massive epic in Mob Rules as well. Sign of the Southern Cross. Like those are kind of like the 1 and 2s that people are like, which one's better? Because they're both just epic and atmospheric and amazing. I don't know. I listen to it right now. It's just like chills. It's like they're both 5s to me, but this one is like unreal.
5.2.
Has that
4.1.
happened? Have you gone over 5?
We've tried. I
wow.
think John has tried to give things a 6 or something. The spreadsheet automatically rounds it down to a 5.
Nope.
Yeah. And I mean, knowing the history of this song and how much they talked about how it just clicked when Dio came on and they were like struggling with Ozzy, like they obviously are over, they're showing how it was breaking down. They're kind of making a point of the difference between the two of them. But just to think that he comes in and brings this, the theme, like the lyrics are so poetic. He must have been working on this in another lifetime or something and just pulled it from his eternal whatever wolf he was inhabiting back in the days of yore. What? Yeah,
Right.
like I always to tie this with like another Dio epic that like All the Fools Sailed Away. I think it's on
Mhm.
Dream Evil. That's like
Yep.
my favorite Dio solo one, and it's got that sea theme as well. So like when Dio goes nautical,
Nautical Dio.
it's fucking 5, baby.
I love it.
Captain Dio.
Captain Dio, I
Arr.
salute you. Yeah.
All right, John, what do you think about this one?
I'm at the risk of sounding like I'm copying him. I give this one a 5 as well.
We need the
Hey,
Jeff
bring in the
Nichols
Mellotron.
keyboard every time, man. Every time we give a 5. Every time we sync up.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, even like back in the day, like I knew that this was an epic song. I mean, starting off with that that soft guitar going into like the really heavy riff. I mean, that's a Dio trademark right there. And I believe that it started right, with this in Sabbath. And I mean, I even got to like when I used to pick up copies of Guitar World, they had this transcribed in one of them. So I remember like being like, oh, it's just a D minor, and just playing
The
it and like
saddest chord.
yeah, but just playing that and then like cranking into like the riff and everything was just so satisfying. Like, I mean, it's so like, I think it's because it's also like, even if you're not a musician, it sounds accessible because I mean, Iommi is not really a fast player. Like he doesn't do a lot of fast riffs. So, I mean, not only does the stuff like really, have that time to sink in and like hit you, like those ringing notes that he plays like during the chorus. But I mean, it sounds like, hey, I could play this. So if you're a musician, it kind of has that accessibility to it as well. But
yeah, and the drums are deceiving how outstanding Bill is on this. It's got that swing. That's hard to do, and especially coming off of the first track is very gritted, and then this one he just like, he just opens it up. It's beautiful.
And let's not forget Geezer's bass too. I mean, he's doing a lot of interesting stuff in there. And like I said, during the song, you can listen to each individual thing, each individual track, and just kind of pick it out and just be like, and it all works together too, which, as we said, is a credit to Martin Birch producing it so well, not having anything buried or in the mix or anything like that. It's a really good mix.
Yeah.
Nate?
Yeah, what can I say, guys? I could go with a 5 too. It's been a long time since I dished one out.
Look out!
Look out!
I'm gonna do a different noise every time there's a 5.
Look out!
Yeah, it's and it's been not only a long time since it's been a 5, but a long time since there's been a unanimous 5. But yeah, like this is the kind of song that this epic, we always call it an epic. It's just
you can't not say epic.
Kind of the unofficial word for this kind of song. It's an epic, and it's short though. It was only 5.5 minutes or something. It's for an epic, so usually in the 7 or 8 minute range.
But like epically awesome.
When we've heard a lot of attempts at this kind of song fall a little flat over the years doing the show on various albums, various bands. Every band in this genre takes a stab at this, usually once an album. It's not always successful, but this is, to me, a prime example of it working just perfectly. And just being so well done, having those dynamics. Sometimes they could just go to it'll be a really boring lull in it or whatever, but this just never lets you down. It's the perfect length, it's the perfect execution. All the playing is great. The vocals are great. It's just really,
The
really
ending
solid.
is great.
Oh,
And maybe
yeah.
that's why it's so good, because like you said, yeah, it could probably be another, like I could hear that chorus a couple more times and I wouldn't be sick of it, but they don't. They leave you just like in awe of it.
Yeah, a less disciplined band could have
Yes.
stretched this into 8 minutes easily, and it would have lost something. But
Mhm.
but they showed that they left you just wanting more. You know, if you weren't looking at the track, like, you know, when this came out, you didn't have the luxury of looking at that play bar going across and knowing exactly when it's going to end. So
Yeah.
you know, if you were just listening to this when it ended, you'd just be like, "Whoa!" Just gobsmacked at what just happened to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's a fantastic song, just
I mean,
top notch.
and you can't like even believe that, like, you know what, 10 years ago this same guy was singing Hoochie Coochie Lady and now he's doing this, you know. It's like, what the hell, man.
We
Like,
ain't at the
10 years ago.
Carolina Ball anymore or whatever.
But I think to me it's got in common at this point in the album, at least it's got that in common with Burn, which is like, oh, you thought you're the grade A class one best in class lineup of the band was over, so you thought it was over. Well, guess again, motherfucker. This is
Hell
going,
yeah.
this is going strong. Like we're not giving up.
Yeah, Burn does that for sure. The track Burn, especially, just in your face.
All right.
yeah.
Well, next
I
track.
think we need a cigarette, boys.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like the
Borrowed from the Angels on the album.
That's why they're smoking.
Go
They
back and
just
have a smoke.
got
Woof.
All right, next track up is Lady Evil. I think that effect is on the bass. It sounds almost like a slight envelope.
Yeah, just it sounds really overdriven.
flange on there, yeah.
Or a chorus. It almost sounds like Nirvana, like "Come as You Are." Sorry for that comparison, John.
Yeah, they started grunge too.
Exactly. Yeah, we did that too. We just don't brag about it because we're not proud.
But yeah, this Iommi's tone is raunchier on this one too.
And
It sounds almost like
another
his
song
Mob Rules tone.
the song kind of like has this kind of like swing to it too. It's heavy, but it's kind of like, you know, you can kind of groove to it.
That's the power of Nibby. He's kind of unsung hero of this album, because a lot of people get caught up in the background of, oh, Bill was in a bad way, because he exits from the band pretty quickly after, like before they even go on tour for this, he exits, I think, or midway through the tour, before they bring in Apathy. But yeah,
You wouldn't tell from his playing.
not on like this one and Children of the Sea. But like I said, he is in and out. I'm always gonna point to Nibby for when Sabbath moves me. It's usually him.
Yeah.
Or Keys. He's kind
The
of
other
throbbing on
example
this one a bit more.
For that with me is like Megadeth. I love Megadeth, but
Yeah.
non-Nick Menza Megadeth just doesn't grab me the same way.
Mm.
Something
Oh.
about the way he played.
I think we disagree there. Gar was my man.
Yeah, I like that stuff, but
I know there's tons of people. I love Menza too, but like he's got the swing, buddy. You got to listen harder.
I'm not listening hard enough.
Let's do Peace Cells next.
Yeah, tons of connections there. I
Yeah.
think Don Airey played on that, so we're good.
He plays on everything.
You can tell they were playing with Van Halen pretty recently.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Where did that
He
come
is
from?
trying to go into Iommi. Like before, he was kind of more like a Hendrix worshiper kind of solos, like those exploding, bluesy. But he's definitely with his contemporaries. And he
As
said
much
that
as he
Dio
can
brought
be.
that out in him. He said that Dio pushed him to like solo in places where he usually wouldn't solo, because and I think a big part of that is Jeff Nichols was playing guitar while they were writing a lot of these songs, so he got more used to just like, even in the jams, just like working on his lead parts while Nichols would hold down a rhythm. Witches Valley, baby.
There you go.
Hell yeah. Love that.
Distant.
It's got some Born Again swells in the back, yeah.
It's like a mic on the other side of the room.
The chorus definitely is not living up to Kill Them to See being right before it, but hey,
Magical
Well,
Mystery.
it's still good.
still good.
I always just think he's gonna say Magical Mystery Tour.
He does. Look out! You gotta drink every time he says look out.
Please no.
But even there, like, he's not afraid to sing over Iommi while he's soloing, you know? It's the same thing with Gillan. Like, they have that confidence coming in where they're not intimidated by the Riff Lord Supreme.
Well, no, what are you going to tell those two guys to shut up? No. No.
But that's a great thing with all these guys. Like, from Dio and Gillan and even Hughesy to an extent. I know he's in a bad spot there, but I mean, after that, there's another guy that comes that changes the dynamic that's not the same way, where it's like here they like pick up with these like studs that have already done all the same legwork as them. So they go in new places.
Mhm.
And when they get to Martin, I mean, I like some of the stuff, but he's intimidated by Iommi. He just wants to keep his job, you know, he's a fill-in.
Yeah, and
Iommi takes advantage of that even, and you see it. But like these guys are just like, yeah, they're going to next level with these albums, you know.
But I mean, I
It's
even
gotta-
feel like, you know, some of their last, I mean, we won't get too far off the track here, but you know, you've heard the Ray Gillan versions of the Eternal Idol songs.
Yeah.
Those are way better than the Tony Martin ones.
Yeah.
Because Ray Gillan was just, I don't know if, like, I just think he was a better singer. Like, I mean, I'd heard like A and B, and I'm like from the album, and I like prefer the Gillan versions.
Yeah, me too. There's
You
maybe
know?
one or two that, and the ones that I like Martin a little bit better, he's just doing a little bit more of a polished version of
Yeah.
what I heard on that one. So maybe if Gillan got another take, then. But yeah, we're
So
off
just-
the topic. We just listened to
yeah.
Lady Evil, for fuck's sake, here, lads.
Yeah.
But to your point though, I think it's easy to be intimidated by if you're
Yeah.
not on the same
Yeah.
level. Like I think Dio, was he on the same level? Well, yeah, just about, like, but he was established, you know, like he was an established singer and a great singer. And same thing with Gillan, you know, he's coming in, it's like, yeah, I've been in the biggest band in the world. Like when I left the biggest band in the world, and yeah, I'm coming into Black Sabbath, but they were old friends and all that. But then you get Tony Martin coming in, of course you're going to be kind of, oh, whatever you want, Tony, like I'm not going to step on any toes. And that
Yeah,
doesn't-
I don't mean to throw him under the bus. It's just, I mean, for this entity that is Sabbath to move forward to a really interesting place, it's cool to pick up. And like Dio brought shit in here, like, you know, this there's rainbow in here. This song in particular too, Lady Evil's kind of has that vibe, even though this was worked on before he came in. He's put his stamp on it. Yeah.
All right, Ryan, what do you think of Lady Evil?
Yeah, it's great. I'm gonna give it, I can't give it 4. I think I'm gonna have to give it a 3, because it's not, I'll give it a 3.5. Can I do that? Do you do points? Does that fuck with your spreadsheets?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
We
I'll give it a
decided we did
3.5.
halves. Yeah.
Maybe I would have liked to maybe have one or a more of an extended like breakdown area. I found that a lot of it was like this, they were changing a little bit behind the solos, but then they'd just come straight back to the down kind of vibe. It'd be cool if it went into it had a bit more dynamics. But you know, like for a third track on the album, this is probably, it's still maintaining it's just dipping a little bit.
All right, John, what do you think?
Well, this is where we're gonna maybe disagree a little bit. This is another 4 for me.
Okay.
I mean, I disagree by a half.
Yeah, we disagree
a
by
half
2.5.
up.
I don't think we can continue. I think we have to end the episode here.
But no, I think that this is another great song. I love the way that it has that kind of like that swing in it. It's just like that's something that's different already. I think in this version of Sabbath is that like it's not that it's not to use a lot of words that aren't associated with Sabbath, but it does have more of like almost like a groovy, like, kind of poppy quality while remaining like heavy. Because I mean, when you're hearing the verse, you can kind of like, you can kind of bop your head to it and be like, yeah, this is kind of like, it's got some kind of like groove to it, but it's still really heavy. And
It's
I
a
mean,
groovy bopper, dude.
and, and Dio's vocals are phenomenal. And like, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just like, Geezer's bass just has this big, just like, I don't know what it is. This overdriven type quality to it that like just kind of dominates the whole song, but it just lays underneath the whole song without, ruining it. And and I like Iommi's solo. I think there are a lot of like, I'm not saying you didn't, but I think there, it's a little bit longer. It's got some dynamics under it. They kind of, change toward the end. They go into that little riff before they go back into the main riff. I think he's doing a lot of cool stuff. I think they're really like they're maintaining for 3 songs in. It's still like up here.
I guess there's a little more tricks in it. There's a lot of wah-wah in there. And like that's just a sign of the times more than anything. But like a lot of it always, like, I'm a bit of an Iommi purist when it comes to like, I want to hear his vibrato and his fingers because that's like what I live for. But I love what he does here, and like the tone is just like screeching. Whatever Doc did to his amp there, he dialed it in nicely for the face melting ability. It's definitely melting the faces here.
All right, I will give it a 3. Actually, I like the track. It's a good track. It's still, a positive rating, but it's I feel like there's always like these Dio songs, whether it's in Rainbow or wherever, where it's like Lady Evil. I just don't know. It doesn't grab me.
The lyrics are a little,
it kind of reminds me of like, do you close your eyes, or whatever. I'm just like, all right, it's fine. It's on the album. But to me, it's always kind of stuck out as being a little weird when you create this like really like, heaven and hell, children of the sea, and then Lady Evil seems just kind of like, oh, this is Lady and she's mystical. And I don't know. I've never really gotten into that style quite the same way. So
it's
like,
usually a gypsy. He does, at least he doesn't say gypsy.
Almost always a friggin' gypsy. These songs. I guess it would be a 2.5. I'm giving an extra half point because it's not a gypsy. But yeah,
a hobo.
Yeah, no hobos.
A drifter. There's a drifter later on.
Like Lady Hobo or
Lady Hobo.
evil hobo.
Hobos are usually kind-hearted.
She's unclean. I could just see him going with that.
But yeah, I mean, I like it, but yeah, just never. It always to me like sticks out a little bit on the album, and it's a good song, but doesn't. After coming with these like biblically epic songs to come to this one was just kind of like, okay. And then
I think that's why I was dipping 3 and 3.5. I mean, you're coming out of Children of the Sea.
And then you're going into heaven and hell again. So it's like you've got this. It's like when you've got the 2 Indiana Jones movies about the 2 like mystic, like 2 biblical relics, and in the middle is one about like the made up stones of Shiva thing. It's like, what's going on here? It's like it's a fun movie, but it's why would you sandwich these 2 like epic Christian relics in between something that's like a sort of made up Hindu thing that doesn't really have that sort of meaning, but anyway, I'll save that for my Steven Spielberg podcast. Anyway, moving along to the final track on side 1 of this album, and the titular Heaven and Hell.
Titular. So this song, like, since Dio's death, like, this is played at like every hair metal festival outing, even in pubs. Like, this is always in the PA pre-roll regardless of the act. If they're super doom evil band that I'm seeing, or if it's just like, you know,
simultaneously
or something.
epic and like triumphant riff. It's like it's brilliant.
The rhythm section is has always been like, yeah, it's just a setup for this riff, let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
That's a sick riff.
I love those little volume swells in the second verse.
Almost sounds like a reverse guitar. I
Yeah, I know
if
it
they
does.
got that, but you know, it sounds like the beginning of
Yeah.
like Blackened.
Okay.
That's what I always picture. I don't know if Birch is into that kind of thing.
Yeah, it could be. Could be part synth. It could be anything. Who knows?
That's true. It's a flute. I can tell, did he say? I can tell.
You can tell.
I can tell that's Heaven and Hell.
Going to the well. Dio layering himself here.
Love
I don't think
this.
that's a keyboard. That's pure Dio.
No, that's Dio. Yeah.
Sounds like he's doing Ozzy responding to his song. Yeah.
And I think the big difference here is Dio's a singer, you know, like, and as I love Ozzy and I love Ozzy Sabbath and I always will, but Ozzy's just not a singer in that same way.
Yeah.
He's an
He
amazing
doesn't try to be.
frontman and all that, but
Well, I feel like it was something I read a while ago, which was, and I believe that it was in comparing these two, was Ozzy's a singer, Dio's a vocalist.
Yeah.
there you go.
It's kind of like going like Vinny Appice's a drummer, Bill's a percussionist. Like it's those kind of vibes where it's like this different approach. But I mean, we could get into the Ozzy stuff. I mean, it always comes down to that. But the fact is, like, this song is a showcase of it exactly. But like the material they're bringing here just makes you kind of forget about that if you're actually just listening to the songs and not trying to like dissect shit like we are.
Yeah.
The work that they're doing like stands on its own. It doesn't even. It's crazy that they don't even need to lean on the old Sabbath stuff, you know, compared to some of the other sets. I think they leaned more heavy on the old stuff. Definitely with Martin, but
It's such a minimalist song for Sabbath.
it is.
Geezer spends 70% of the song just droning on one note, but it's perfect for the song, you know.
Which I think is him following the template a little bit. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this end part is just brilliant.
Yeah, this is what really makes it next level. This is Sabbath, man. Like the ramp up at the end. That tone that Naomi's kicking there is it's huge. Great climb by Geezer here.
Yeah.
I love those kind of bass climbs.
such a Dio line. You've got to bleed for the dancer.
Bleed for the dancer.
What does that even mean?
Put your backs against the wall. It's like blade. Oh, take it easy.
There's actually another line that they play live. You probably hear it on Live Evil. There's like a second line that's in that Kings and Queens kind of part that's only done live. So the little nugget that you get when you hear them live. Oh, I love this too. Come on now. This is the part that just keeps playing after you off yourself listening to this album. I don't know. It just seems like a needle skip moment.
Yeah, exactly. Going around that groove.
Beautiful. And that closes the first side there.
But that kind of connects it to like classic Sabbath, like those acoustic instrumentals that Iommi would do in the early days. That's
But
what I
now
always thought.
finally integrated into the song.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Where's that Ritchie Blackmore on a fucking lute? I don't know. Maybe that was left.
I don't know how much lute Ritchie was playing back then.
It does have like a mandolin kind of quality at the end there. Sounds like
It does a little bit, yeah. Maybe like a nylon string.
Yeah, probably.
Acoustic.
All right. There you have it. Heaven and Hell, the title track. Rye, what do you think?
We did it. We're here. Yeah, I'll give this a 4.5. I'm not going to give it a 5 because Children of the Sea is the masterpiece and it deserves its own tier. I don't know why I feel like that, but I always feel like there has to be like, if there's one that just connects beyond anything, like I can't. There is a bit of I guess fatigue with this one for me, just in the throbbing boom 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 part. But I mean, the payoff is there. Anytime that riff kicks in, it's amazing, and then it comes back, and the way that they exit, incredible. It's a signature song too. I mean, even if you have to step back and just regard this as like one of the all-time heavy metal classics, it's like god tier for any metalhead. And you know, maybe Bill Ward's not doing as much as he has been on some of the other tracks. I don't know if I'm gonna pick apart each person's performance on a 4.5 here. No, it's a fucking killer song.
All right, John, what do you think?
So I was struggling a little bit when I was listening to it, what I was going to give, and I give it a 4. I mean, I think it's it's one of the most classic metal songs that there is. I love it, and its simplicity and like just the like Dio's lyrics, especially at the end when he says the moon is just the sun at night. It's like, I'm not a lyrics guy, but that one always hit me. But
I mean, it's technically wrong, but yeah.
But it's still it's but
Let's
it's
bring Neil deGrasse Tyson out here to explain why that's not correct.
It's Dio like just being like his poetic self,
Yeah.
I mean, just that kind of like lyricism with him is just like, he takes stuff that you're just like, how does he even do this? Like, he puts these words together that don't mean anything, but they conjure up this imagery for you. But that I'm not really a live album type of guy, but I will say that every time I've heard this song live, I like it better than on the album, because I feel like the album version is tame compared to that. And that's whether it's Sabbath or the especially the two performances of the Dio, I think it was the Live at Donington album, I think, CD, where there was like a performance from like 83 and 87, I think, that he did with his two bands. I think that was it. Where he did like, there were two versions of Heaven and Hell, and I was surprised that both of them were like unbelievably good. And I mean, a lot of it has to do with just it being a live performance. And I mean, of course, like, Dio nails it, especially the vocal parts. He just puts in like, a ton more energy than he did on the album version, which I think that, maybe if this was, maybe a little more, a spontaneous take or whatever, I just feel like, especially in the verse, like his vocal seems a little faint because there was an echo on it and everything. And I mean, that's to say, if a Dio vocal is not up to snuff, it's still better than 99% of the shit that's out there, in my opinion. But the album version, I think, is like more tame than the live versions, which is why I would say it's a great song, but I prefer this song live anyway, but I'll never turn this one off.
That's a great point, John. And I think that's what I was kind of getting at, even when I said like, oh, this is the song you always hear on the PA. It's because you always hear people singing along to it too, like before any other concerts. And it's amazing live. So it does, that does make it feel a little more sterile when you listen to this version of it.
Yeah.
Live, it's a 5. It's a
hell yeah.
5.
I will also give it a 4. There's some songs that are 5s live. Like
I'll
they
come
just
down
have
to a
be
4
done live.
too. Let's all do 4s so we can get a
You don't have to change your score.
No, I think I would come down to a 4. Now when I'm thinking about it, it's like the live version of it is what makes this one.
You can do it. I've changed
it's so anthemic. Like it's that rally cry metal song, but it's done in a way that's not super cheesy, like "We Rock" or whatever his solo shit is. But we're the last in line. Like it's not like
shots fired.
That it's coded in this epic world, and when it comes into that kings and queens that steal your dreams, like that's just amazing words. So 4.
Remember, you've
I like how I'm talking it up so I can take it down 0.5.
But it's great. I mean, it's a great song. All right, so that closes out side 1 of Heaven and Hell. Flipping this disc over, we get to side 2, and the first track is none other than Wishing Well.
Ooh, yeah.
Classic.
Got a happy side here.
Yeah.
These are just... So this is the song that he's busy on. Holy crap.
He's making up for Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
But again, this is like a classic Sabbath song to me.
Oh, he said rainbow. Drink.
Oh.
A little dig.
Show me a rainbow.
Oh.
I love that double track part. A little like, frenetic little Iommi solo thrown in there. I like it.
Yeah. The verse kind of reminds me of, I don't know, anything like a particular Rainbow song, but it just reminds me of like something he might have done in Rainbow.
Yeah, I think that's what Neon Nights really hits me hard with that. It just sounds like a rainbow. Could be a rainbow song.
Let's see that.
I kind of like the direction the song just took in this verse or pre-chorus, whatever.
Oh yeah, this is the one with that weird double.
And this is very rainbowish, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, you just need some...
Oh, that's some backwards guitar, right?
I think he's doing some tricks with like the reverse tracks.
Yeah. Sounds like backwards to me.
Again, I'm really listening to the drums here. Bill's doing some real crazy shit on the snare. It's awesome.
Yeah, he is bringing it in this song, huh?
He has most energetic song so far, I think.
Yeah. Dio's a little obnoxious on this one, if I'm gonna be honest.
You think so?
He seems like he's interjecting like, yeah, come on, and like maybe I'm just look out.
He's begging with you, right? Let me feel myself. I feel myself on this song.
That's what he sounds like. He's feeling himself. Maybe this is his wanking song, like his Aussie wanking song. He calls it going to the wishing well.
It's a euphemism.
I grab my magazines and I go to the wishing well. You can tell I'm an Aussie guy since I try to find a song about wanking it.
Well, he would probably be a little more subtle about it lyrically than Ozzy would.
Yowza.
Tight.
Nice
Tight.
tight ending. Yeah, I like that ending.
Yeah.
A cymbal choke and wow. All right. All right. What do you think about wishing well? Are you going to the wishing well when you think about this one? Or are you doing...
Yeah, no, you know what? Like, yeah, that's pretty solid one. Maybe I don't know if it's in a good spot or a bad spot. I'm trying to just think that you flip over the side. I guess you have a little break so you can recover from heaven and hell.
Mm-hmm.
More so than like how Lady Evil was between the two there, but I think I would have liked yeah, I'm gonna give it like I'll give this one a 2 just because it's a little filler for me. But Nibby sounds great, so I could almost push it up, but I'm having a hard time ranking this one because I think I'm just I'm trying to like put certain songs into a level. Maybe I should just let these ones creep up and live, but it where it is on the track. If I think about flipping over, it's got energy, which is kind of cool starting a new track, but I would have really liked the second side to start with Heaven and Hell. Just that riff is just, that's a drop the needle riff. How it starts. That'd be a really cool
interesting that you got like two epics on the first side.
Yeah.
But it's Black Sabbath. There's a lot of epics going around. So
but in the digital world anyway, that doesn't matter. So like it's a pretty strong album track. Bass is cool, a little too busy. Ward's killing it. Dio's a little obnoxious. We'll give it a 3.
All right. John, what do you think?
So I mean, I was thinking the same thing even going into it, that if this track was going to be a little filler. I always thought it was, and I thought maybe I'd feel differently now, and I actually don't like. I mean, there are parts of it that I like the pre-chorus going into the solo. I really like the dynamic that took. The kind of the backwards soloing and everything, Dio singing in the background, but overall the song is just it's not as good as the others. There's no bad song on this album, but I mean, I give it a 2.5. Just average, especially compared to the others. There's just really not as a whole as much going on here, but definitely great elements still. So
all right, I will give it a 3.5. Actually, I really like it. I like this track. But he's giving me a look.
Did I ruin it? Did I ruin it with the masturbation reference?
No, I think you
Or did I
enhanced
make
it,
it?
Actually.
That gave it the 0.5.
I think it would have been maybe a 2 if you hadn't brought that up. No, I mean, I think I like the energy, I like the drive behind it, and it's not the most I don't know, original or out there song, but I think it's a pretty good solid rocker. But all right, on to the next track. And that song is a track called Die Young.
Yes. This is Jeff Nichols' moment to shine.
It's got this long tail flange on the whole thing. On the synth.
Stonehenge. This is like the precursor to the Nichols instrumentals. But then you got some great bluesy solo here.
I used to have a patch on one of the first real synth I got that was like this, and I always loved it. I forgot it's like a sawtooth, but with like a
That bed?
big long flange
Yeah.
on it. I love it's like one of those things like, don't worry, we're still Black Sabbath. Boom. I don't know what this.
Ooh, I love it. Ooh,
Yeah.
now this is good.
Yeah, this is a killer track. Craig Gruber did us well with this one. They do a good job doing like the verse, guitar break,
Yeah.
verse, then into the chorus. Like they hold that chorus back for a little bit.
They give you the little tease.
Yeah.
I mean, great vocals and sense of urgency by Dio.
Mm-hmm.
Like the song sounds like it's like a sense of urgency, like we can't stop.
Especially this part. It's pre-chorus.
Until it does.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
A total onslaught of like a minute and a half of just
There's Soft Dio. Old softies come back from the wishing well. I love it. Sorry. Cut my
that was
vocals.
a slow burn for me. I was trying to listen.
Mr. Softy.
It almost sounds like a woman's vocal in
Yeah.
that section.
No, he's got range for sure. Come on. There's some Iommi trills.
Little rainbow vocals right there.
It's like Ronnie doing Queen almost.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Total Queen, yeah.
Love how he goes up in that verse.
Yeah.
Kind of changes a little bit from the first verse.
You missed it. He just says your back's to the wall.
Oh!
Don't worry, I'm gonna say it again.
Oh!
It's Ronnie. You won't leave it at that.
No.
These are just all over the place. I love it.
Oof. Just die, huh? Freebird.
Yeah,
He's fucking ripping this one, man. This might be his
so good.
solo of the album. And of course they fade it. Although they've been doing a good job of like fading one, kicking out on one, like they're mixing it up. I mean, I hate it when albums just are constant, like everyone fades. I'm like, do
Yeah, oh
something
yeah, that
different.
gets it gets.
But at least it's like back and forth here.
every so often a fade out is a good thing.
Yeah.
But
We've just had some really strong outs on some of these songs, like Drilling of the Sea and stuff. Like,
Yep.
That would have been a nice one at the end. Die young, die young, die young.
Oof.
That would just
That would have
kill
been
you,
aggressive, yeah.
though.
All right, Rye, what do you think about Die Young?
Yeah, this is it's one of my faves from the album for sure. One that I'd replay and do replay. It's great, like that whole keyboard stuff is great, like nighttime driving.
Hmm.
Yep.
I wish I had like a iRock or something that I could, like, put but my old man Buick works because it's got a nice sound system. So but Yeah, I'll definitely I'll put it up in the tier there, like with like I'll give it a 4 and put it up there with the title track and stuff, still behind my Children of the Sea. But yeah, incredible signature track. I'd say it's an Iommi signature track. His lead stuff is insane.
Oh yeah, solos are
And
incredible.
you get Softy Dio in there and you get Power Dio, so it's got the
Just
same kind of
returning
range.
from the wishing well.
Yeah, the way more. There's actually more dynamics in this than the title track, I think. If you take into account the intro being its own kind of thing, because there's a complete switch there, the onslaught, and then back into the acoustic. And then that shimmering kind of keyboard that comes in there, just like it's very, very 80s, but this is like 1980. So this is the beginning of it. So like, it's not done to death. This is like a badass track.
Yep.
Die Young. I
And
don't
it's
know,
still
but
got that, like-
thematically, it doesn't really seem like a Dio thing. He doesn't seem like a Die Young kind of guy.
No,
He seems more like a respect the elders, so they'll teach you the ways of the sea before you don't fuck with the evil ladies.
so you can go. So you have the skills to kill the dragon.
Yeah, he seems like more of a journey guy than a get in, check out kind of guy.
Yeah,
But it's cool.
Yeah,
it's anthemic. They played this one live too, right? So obviously,
yeah.
it's
And
badass.
I think
it was a
we'll go
single even.
to what you said about the keyboards. Like it's got that. It does sound like a little bit 80s, but it's got that analog synth sound to it. And I think thing that really always rubs me the wrong way about 80s synths is, especially when you get a little later into the 80s, it's just that super clean, polished, pristine sound that I never liked. I always loved that moogie early 70s sort of synth sound that is always resonated. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the psychology is behind it, but I wish I knew. But that clean sounding electric piano sort of stuff and always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Give me a good, even though like the only synth in the 80s that I thought really kind of captured that was like the Oberheim, like had these really cool Sweet Dreams and stuff like that, had these really cool, aggressive, punchy sort of stuff. But there's so much of it that's cleaned up to a point where it doesn't hit with me the same way.
I've been listening to a lot now is Billy Idol, and like the keys in that are very 80s and at the time. And there's even like electric drums in it, but it's just so fucking good. Like it's so raunchy, and like that's what this one has. It has all those synthy things that you would associate with a new wave cleaned up kind of thing, but it's raunchy.
Yeah, it's not polished the same way.
Yeah, it's not polished. It's used behind and I mean you got fucking Iommi and Ward and Butler just cranking too. So
right.
Yeah.
All right, John. What do you think about Die Young?
So I'm going to give it a 5.
Woohoo!
Nice.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. This was always one of the top songs for me on this album. Like I never skip it. I always look forward to it. It's just got all those great dynamics in it, and like I said, it sounds like the song is like rushing towards something like the whole time. It's just that really just great, like just sense of urgency type of song. And just like you're like banging your head and pumping your fist, and you love Dio's vocals, and it's just like it's awesome. What more can I say about it?
It's a 5. Awesome.
Sense of urgency. It's like it's the last song they recorded. And it's like, come on, we gotta get this album out next week. Yeah, we gotta mix it down. Live fast.
Live fast. Die young. Faders.
But it's funny. Like I think they have this tendency on this album now. In this second slot to put in this amazing epic, but both of them are really short. I mean, this one's not even 5 minutes long, but it hits all of those marks that you'd like to hear in a great song of this style, and does it so well. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I really like it.
Killer.
I think it's a really, really strong second track once again on the second side of the album.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about the second track. What about the third track? After you're done at the wishing well, sometimes you just walk away.
I love that. I love this riff.
Oh, I know you do.
Yeah,
it's fucking
like
Kiss.
Lick it up. Kiss riff.
Yeah, this one has it's all written all over it.
Oh, I hate you. Now I think it sounds like Lick It Up.
I always thought that.
And it's not one of my favorite Kiss songs either. But
You know what it actually kind of sounds like to me? This one sounds like a Never Say Die era one. Like this is one of the few ones that I feel like the beat of it. Because a lot of the songs on Never Say Die, I'm always like, it sounds like a Kiss riff.
Yeah,
and then it goes
Never
into
Say Die has
else.
a more like kind of, it's not a dark, doomy sort of thing. It's
A little more party,
poppy and
yeah.
upbeat.
Yeah.
well, yeah, it does have a little bit of a more kind of up tempo, like kind of poppy feel to it.
Yeah. I can see this one working on the Sunset Strip. In my IROC. Going to grab John.
Hell yeah!
Rainbow. We're gonna go to Rainbow.
Let me get my fringe leather jacket. Still have it in my closet somewhere.
You gotta have that T-top where you can just jump in. And I don't even have to slow down. It's only blood now.
He's just killing it in the song again.
He's in a cool position. Like his.
I like how he's messing around at like the bottom end of the octave and then moving up to the top end for a little bit and then coming back down to the classic geezer technique.
Yeah. All right. Okay, these lyrics are pretty bad. I'm looking them up right now. Yeah, I had to because I was like, "What is this about?" Walking away.
Oh, it starts off with we commented on this on an Elf song. The opening line of this is "Lord, she's handsome."
Yeah, that's what I was cringing at.
Handsome woman. I can't remember what song it was. He's like, "Josh, she's handsome."
Yeah, he was still hanging on to some of that.
I think that was the working title for the song too. I remember them saying when they asked Geezer like, "What songs did you work on?" He said, "I knew there was a song called Lord, She's Handsome," so it must have been this one.
Yeah, it's Hoochie Coochie Lady. Well, she's handsome.
I don't like that handsome as a.
No, it's a weird.
It doesn't work.
Well, Hoochie Coochie Lady is well, she's handsome, and Walk Away is Lord, she's handsome.
As she flows across the floor, like these lyrics are so gross. But what's the other part here? It says, "Sorry, I'm not." I guess I should just be listening to the song. But is this song about walking away from somebody you've impregnated? Because like, there's a line in here that says, "She's got the look of freedom and makes you think she's wild, but I can see right through it. It's a way to have a child."
Maybe it's walking away from
away.
a woman that wants to tie you down, man.
Right,
You can't tell me,
okay.
Tie me down with one of those families. I'm my own man. So that's a lot better than walking away because she's gotta go.
Yeah.
So sorry, I should have went to the wishing well instead.
Whoops. I got distracted by her handsomeness.
Oh man. All right.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, boys.
All right. Walk away.
We might have to walk away from that one.
Lick it up.
It's only blood now. If I gotta give that one. That's a 2 at best for me because it does feel kind of like if any of the ones are 2 on this album, that's like pretty filler. I did not like those lyrics as I'm reading them here. It might have been more fun with Ozzy actually. Like when I'm thinking about it, like automatically it sounded like a Never Say Die kind of track to me, or like a Foreigner. That like they're trying for a Foreigner Boston kind of.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Poppier thing. But I don't know.
What do you think, John?
I mean, I like it okay, so I'll give it a 3. I mean, like I always liked how it was kind of like to me, it sounded like a different riff for Iomi, and like a different, kind of song. Like I said, it's one of, there was another one earlier on the album too that had that kind of like upbeat, type of feeling to it that I don't usually associate with Sabbath. It's more, doom. So I mean, I kind of liked it. I mean, yeah, the lyrics are kind of whatever, but I'm not a lyrics I'm not a lyrics guy, so I don't listen to it too much. I just kind of like listen to, the melodies and guitar and all that kind of stuff. So that was good. But I'm sure if I dug into the lyrics, I'd probably think they were like, I mean, for what you were reading, they sounded pretty stupid. So
Well, that's the thing. I think it was that first line. When I heard that, I was like, okay, what is going on? Like, Lord, she's handsome. Like, I was just like, that's a bad start. Like,
Yeah.
then
I'm
you
already
start
out.
then you start listening to the lyrics like, yeah, are we gonna get something about the moon being the sun here? Something cool? But no, it seems to go into hey man, I know how babies are made. I ain't falling for that. What's he trying to say here?
I just
You
feel
want me
like
to-
there's a lot
You
of
want me
like,
to do what? I've read the books. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I know what. That's a sure way to a child. Walk away.
I mean, there's a lot of like 70s, like, Rainbow Dio still kind of like left over. Like, I don't think he was like completely transitioned to what he was going to be like in the 80s until, maybe, his first solo album completely. So,
Yeah, this is the one like hangover track so far where I'm just like, yeah, a little bit of toss away. Toss away.
You can hear that. I will give it a 3. Like I think it's a good solid track, but yeah, not anything crazy. Mostly I'd probably give it 2.5 if it wasn't for Geezer just going off on the bass.
Yeah, I like that run he does. That's cool.
Love everything about his bass line on this is great to me. But yeah, that's probably the highlight of the song. It's decent, it's good, but yeah, kind of slight filler track, but still pretty solid.
Yeah.
Okay, can't believe it, but that brings us to the final track on the album, which is "Lonely Is the Word."
Oh
yeah, this riff kicks ass.
yeah, absolutely. That makes me not like walk away even more if that's the penultimate track.
Yeah,
Because I know this one. This
it's
is
in the SATO slot. It's got to be stronger than that.
oh yeah, like this is not SATO into Diary. This is Diary though. This is a killer song. I love this one.
I love the guitar starts and then the bass and drums come in like a halftime groove that you're not
Yeah.
expecting.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is just again, I'm talking about Bill Ward. I'm trying to give him justice for this album that he's overlooked on, but this is his peak of the album. And it's it's
Yeah.
blues, man. Like
Yeah, great.
this is what I wish Seven Star was like. Just that swing. I used to count in millions, now I only count in one. Like this is like Angry Dio is rising here.
Yeah.
This is the deal we get on Dehumanizer.
Hell yeah.
The isolated, like introverted, venomous Dio surfacing. Gone are the rainbows in the soft, the soft wishing well returns. Pissed. He's drinking the Sabbath Kool-Aid.
You got a little like mistreated breakdown right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time, and the risk of sounding like old fuddy-duddies. You just don't get this kind of dynamics in music anymore. The production doesn't allow for it.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Call us fuddy duddies.
Don't call us that. I'll be so mad if you call me a fuddy duddy.
All right, fine. Call me an old fuddy duddy. Yeah.
Call me handsome.
But like,
But not if you're a handsome woman.
Call me a
like,
handsome woman, Lord.
Lord, you're handsome.
he's handsome.
Maybe he was just talking to John Lord.
He was handsome.
While Nate floats
He was,
across
yeah.
the floor.
But like, why don't they do this in music anymore? It's not hard. It's not hard to do. Like, they just have to tone down the production and not compress everything to hell and back. Like,
Yeah. You know what's
that
really
would-
cool
that would-
about the mix on this album is like Bill's drums are actually pushed back a bit if you think about how powerful the bass and guitar are.
yeah,
It's a really killer mix. And at first I thought it sounded sterile when I first listened to it because it's just so performance-wise they're very like almost gridded at points, but it's a great mix. Geezer almost sounds fretless there. He's just like hanging on it.
and there's just something so great about just drums, bass, and a guitar solo. No rhythm, guitar backing it up. No keys. It's just so,
Oh, except
so raw.
Jeff Nichols comes creeping in.
He will eventually. There he comes. But it's great how it comes in.
Yeah, but it still sounds so like raw and stripped down.
Yeah, I like what Nichols is doing there. Just that little.
Yep, nothing too much.
My dad's gonna show here, like me being a dad is gonna show here, but that sounds like the Frozen.
Oh, it totally does.
I didn't
The,
hey, we
the
get
water
that.
horse theme or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they stole it from Black Sabbath.
I'm telling you, they invented everything. Iommi's having a little fun at the end there.
I've
very-
probably heard that the Frozen 2 soundtrack like 400 times more than I've heard this in my life.
I know, yeah. Unfortunately, that's why I had to bring it up. I apologize.
Iommi's
no, like-
outro solo is epic here.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
incredible. Wow, great way to close out a great album. All right.
Yeah, is that the perfect closer? It might be for
Oh, yeah.
for the batch.
Mm.
Damn good.
Yeah.
What do you think about this closer, Rye?
It's bluesy as fuck. Love the pocket Ward brings here. Like I said, I'm locking on him, and that's my my agenda for today is to give Ward some credit for an album that he often doesn't get credit for. He kind of gets written out of this as he was on, like, it's always, and he himself does it. He just says, I don't remember anything from those sessions. I was in a bad
Yeah.
way, kind of thing. But like when you actually look at some of the performances here, pretty incredible.
Well, he wouldn't be the
And-
first musician ever to be like, like out of his mind on whatever and still and still create amazing, incredible music that people will remember 40 years later. So
Yeah, and Dio hits it perfectly lyrically on here, that like I guess like a wanderer kind of lost soul, but also like I said, he's kind of drinking the Sabbath Kool-Aid here, and he's doing something that's a little more of the Aussie era, where it's this introverted thing as opposed to like a rally cry. It's more just like I don't know. There's one part where he's like, he says, lonely is the word, must be the most sad thing I've ever heard, or the saddest song I've ever heard. Where I don't know if that's him removing himself from the situation of being this alone person, but I always get the vibe from this. It's just like this, like, yeah, lost soul kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I love that for an ender. I wish that there was a 1-2 punch. I think Walk Away was pretty
Yeah.
pretty bad. But yeah, so like, but when I think of everything, like how they sequence things, it's a great sequenced album for sure.
All right. What do you rank this one?
Oh yeah. Let's give it a 4.5.
4.5. All right. John.
Yeah, so I agree that this is a great closer, a great song. Like this riff is like unbelievable, like how simple it is, but it's just like, wow, who, like, how can Iommi like just keep doing it? He just plays a riff and it's
And he
like,
was
Jesus.
relatively early on, and at this point, I mean, he's a machine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, like just, 10 plus years of just like doing these riffs, and he just keeps whipping them out, and he keeps whipping them out later too. He still has some other great ones coming, but yeah, it's a great closer. He does some great, soloing here. You know, Ronnie's good, the whole thing, and I love that, like you mentioned, that halftime thing is after the riff came in, we just really made it. So I give it a 4. Great, great closer. And it's like, and I think I overlooked this song too for a long time, until, and I don't mean recently, like in the past like year or two, but like, within the past, like whatever, 30 years since I listened to it, like, I had kind of like not really paid much attention to this one. And then I don't know when it was, but it's like, when you kind of rediscover, I haven't listened to this album for a while. I rediscovered it and I just heard this song, and one day it just hit me and I was like, wow, this is really good. So this is kind
it's
of one
one
of
that
the
popped out when I was going through the album too for the first time. And first
like a
time hearing
lost
it.
gem on the album, so
Yeah.
to speak. Because when I was younger, I used to think too, it was called Lonely Is the World. And then I was like, oh wait. And then I looked and I was like, oh, word. And then I'm like, I don't get it. And then I had to like go back and check out the lyrics. But yeah, so I mean, everything from getting the title wrong for many years to like whatever else, like but yeah, it's definitely like in my personal experience, like the sleeper hit of the album.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I like Lonely Is the World better, because I always thought Lonely Is the Word doesn't make me think of a song like this. Like, I think the song always delivers something. Lonely Is the Word. I don't know. It sounds like it would be kind of a cheesy song, but this is a really great song. But I'll also give it a 4. Again, I think it's a great closer. Closes out the album really, really well.
Mm.
Yeah, I always really dug it. But
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It's not necessarily one of the ones that's like, oh, I need to like listen to the whole album again kind of ender, like the aforementioned Diary of a Madman is, where you're like, I just need to flip it over and get that entire experience again.
Oh, God,
but it's one that like leaves you with the album and you're like satisfied. It's a very satisfying ender.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there you have it. That is Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. Just
we
really
went
quickly.
on and on and on. It's always a couple hours with you guys, isn't it?
Oh,
yep.
Well,
Easy.
when you do an album review, it's generally around the 2-hour mark. But when you bring in a third person and you got a third take on every song, it stretches a third take on everything, but also a third take in each track. It stretches things out. But you can get away with it in this era. But once you get to the CD era, any album would have to easily be a 2-parter, because it's too much.
Yeah.
But just real quickly,
you need that wishing well piss break.
Yeah. Exactly. Guys, I gotta go to the wishing well. But this one is their highest charting album since Sabotage, reaching number 9 in the UK and 28 in the US. So yeah. And just
is that
quickly,
a higher is that higher charting than Sabotage with the Sabotage?
Yeah, their highest since Sabotage. So I'm not sure.
Since Sabotage. Okay. Yeah.
And Ozzy referred to this band as Black Rainbow. So we have like a deep rainbow with Jolin Turner, and now we got Black Rainbow with him joining Ozzy. So just thought I'd throw that.
Always got to get cute, don't they?
Always have a little dig in there. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to John can bust out the spreadsheet and tell us a little bit about what where this album lines up and everything. But while he does that, I got one thing left to do, and that is, of course, to thank our foundation level patrons. Coming in at the $3.33 halfway to evil tier, we have Raf Calf. At the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, we have Peter Gardeau, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Duncan Leask, Stuart McCord, Flight of the Rat-Bat Blue Light, Ivan Fjellbu. It's a great life if you know we can. It's a Runar Simonson. It's a great life if you know we can. It's a and JJ Stenard. Coming in at the $1 made-up name tier, we have the heavenly oozing casket of doom, Mickey Mausoleum.
Gotta get
Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 fanatic, Spike the Rock Cat, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, Ashen Lionel, Spike's mom, Blackmore Tights, and John Maselli.
Lovely home. Clean, very clean.
All right. Well, thank you to all of our amazing contributors to the show.
We're running a morning zoo here now.
We are. It's turned into that, and it's not over yet, because it's that time, folks. The time for us to bust out the spreadsheet.
We're just busting out the spreadsheet, and he's fumbling with the tabs. Oops, he sorted it the wrong way. Now he can't tell what is bad.
All right, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. Where does it rank in the spreadsheet, John?
Okay, so we have a few different rankings here. So I'll go with our ranking first, meaning me and Nate's combined ranking, since that's most of them, and the fumbling begins. Okay.
He's already losing it.
Oh Jesus, what's all this crap going on in here?
What
Nate,
crap?
are
I
you
don't see
doing
anything.
something?
No, I'm not doing anything.
Oh,
What
okay.
crap? Oh, what did you just do?
Get out of there! I saw your thing in
I'm
there.
just zipping through. You did something wrong. You really? There you go.
All right, there we go.
You undid it.
So,
Really trying to live up to the jingle today.
Yeah, playing it out in real time.
where is it?
Okay, we have to go back and do the episode over. We lost all of it.
No, I lost it. Where did it go? Heaven and Hell.
Here a second ago.
It was it. Yeah, I really am living up to it. It got a 7.81, but I can't find it.
Well, no, now the rankings are all.
Uh-oh. Is this the day the machine?
Oh,
takes a
there it
shit and
is.
dies?
Yeah, but
It's up top for some reason, and now it has a 12.66. How did that happen?
Because something got screwed up. Oh, I see what you did. How did you do that? I'm gonna fix this formula.
I don't know, but I definitely lived up to the jingle today, folks. So Rye got to witness it live.
There you go. I'm on the sinking ship now. The children of the sea.
All right, what has happened now? Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong Black Sabbath now. Okay. The episode was going real smooth up until this point. All right, here we go. No, Z to A. That's what we need. Okay,
Mhm.
so this should be sorted by highest to lowest.
All right, let's see.
Some formula got copied over, and it made this the highest ranking album of all time by a lot.
That's
No. Okay. So I'm sorry. So it's the
you go.
yeah, there we go. So Heaven and Hell. Back to our regularly scheduled ratings. 7.94 on our scale here. So it's about like, upper halfway in all the albums that we've ranked. So it's oh, look at that. It's between Tommy Bolin's Private Eyes and Ian Gillan's Clear Air Turbulence. It's
Look at that.
interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. And so now we have our combined guest ratings. So let's see, we got Heaven and Hell is actually, well, that's funny. It's like it's right underneath Born Again.
Hey,
Yeah, just almost the same score.
there we
Yeah,
go.
just barely. Get out of there, Nate. I can't see.
Am I becoming predictable? I think.
There we go. Well, the combined rating for all of us was like 11.44, which is Born Again was 11.61, so it was a little higher up.
There you go.
And
But
Seven Star
that's-
was 9.33, so
Yeah.
considerably above.
I
Yeah,
sucked
so-
that one.
Yeah, Seventh Star was not that wasn't up there, was it? Wasn't, don't tell me it was above. Oh no, it's way below it. Okay. And let me see. And then in terms of combined, right? And then in terms of we look at I like to look at guest ratings. Let's see, this one is, well, it's a little lower, like the individual. Is it the
A
the
little
individual
bit below the median
a
score.
little, the individual guest ratings, it's a little bit below the median there. So
Yeah,
for
Rye
the for
ranked us
this
at 3.63.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yep, 3.63. So that's between Billy Cobham's Spectrum and Rainbow's Difficult to Cure, which
Okay.
Spectrum came in a little higher, but
Oh,
and
yeah,
those
it's
don't
above
mean
Rainbow.
anything. It's just in
Well, there
that's
you go.
just
It's above its
informational.
competing album, right? Did
Yeah,
you say
pretty
Down to
much.
Earth or Difficult to Cure? Oh, never mind.
Difficult to
Okay.
Cure.
Yeah, it's right above
Yeah.
Difficult to Cure.
Okay.
By almost a
so-
full point, though. It's
So it was
pretty-
like,
pretty
this is like
substantial.
deep spectrum.
There we go. Yeah. That's- you have to
Deep
give it a name, right?
But yeah, so this is like, that's kind of all informational. But if you just look at kind of how the ratings were in general, this album predictably, I think, was, in the higher range of our ratings. I can kind of tell, like, from what we've thought of albums or in the past, based on discussions or just how we've, known that we're going to rate them just because we've known each other for so long. Like what albums I think are going to be a little bit lower, which ones are going to be higher. So this one I thought would do pretty well, and it did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Because it's damn good.
Mhm.
absolutely.
It's one that always gets compared to like it gets compared to Diary and stuff just because it was like around the same era, or Blizzard even, like, gets
Yeah.
compared to the Ozzy solo stuff. It's always like the back and forth of those, and it's funny to see it stacking up against Difficult to Cure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's night and day though, those two albums. And I mean, you could see where it stacks with us. It doesn't even come close to Blizzard of Oz on our, our ratings here. That's still got the number one spot.
Yeah.
But
Until you
but
do Diary, I guess.
yeah, that's going to be a photo finish right there. I have a feeling Diary might
Be a
take the
photo
crown,
finish for a
but-
few of our patrons' patience.
Oh yeah, they don't
like
the
when's a
Ozzy?
Deep Purple album going to be up there? God damn it.
They're like,
Oh
you
yeah,
gotta be
right.
kidding me.
Yeah.
Somebody should have done an Ozzy podcast, guys.
Somebody, if only. But yeah, that was a lot of fun listening to this, Rye. We really appreciate
Yeah,
you.
it's been a
joining us
while
once again.
listening to it for me and hanging out with you guys. So thanks again for having me
Same.
back.
So
For
hey,
the
if
three-peat,
they,
let's do it again.
if they
Yes.
they
What's
want to,
next?
we know you're not doing your Black Sabbath podcast regularly, but what other podcasts are you into these days?
Oh yeah, we got to mention North by South, my monthly podcast that I do with one Clay from Skinner Reconsidered, who also doesn't do podcasts on his normal feed. So we kind of just get together and stay in touch through that. But Nate's been on twice. John, you need to come on sometime.
You got
figure out
it.
a theme, get you in there.
Yeah, get me on.
Yeah, we I was telling you earlier, we have half an episode. We have to finish that off maybe tomorrow, I guess, because it
Half an
has to come out the
episode in
first
the
of the month.
can.
But they come out on the first of the month as much as we can. So yeah, watch for that. North by South.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
competing, generally Canadian artists competing against American artists. Maybe
Yeah,
most
yeah.
artists
So
win.
the idea there is I pick a Canadian one since I reside there and I have a citizenship here, and he picks one from the States. And we do kind of random themes, but we like pooled a bunch of themes, and then we kind of do a random generator where we just pick it from the hat at the end of the episode. But sometimes we're open to people, giving us themes too. And you guys are always welcome in the clubhouse.
And sometimes I go on because I'm both geographically and by heritage in between the two.
Yeah, you're good shit. You got to listen to the Nate episodes if you get all you guys.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure
We
all of
talk
my
some
listeners
hip hop. What were we
do.
talking
We
about
do,
last
yeah.
time?
If you want to hear me on another podcast talking about hip hop, then that's what you got to do.
Yeah. There's no Sabbath
right.
over there, unfortunately. But
No Sabbath yet. Well, I guess probably never, because they're not American or Canadian.
yeah, once he gets a citizenship, when he moves up here to.
Yeah, we know he's leaving. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you on. Always great to talk Black Sabbath.
Always fun.
We know we've got
Yeah.
at least one more coming up
We
down
do.
the road with Mr. Dio.
You have me whenever you want me for some mob rules and some dehumanizer.
Mm.
Two more.
Oh, that's right. At least
Oh,
one,
yeah.
maybe two more at least. So
We'll get to the
Awesome.
90s stuff too.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Rye.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
We'll come at you next week with another fresh topic for you. Will it be
Look
about Deep
out!
Purple? Will it be about Black Sabbath? Who knows? You'll have to tune in and see. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.
Woo.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.